welcome to episode 137 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carcillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California. Join my best friend in entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, happy New Year, my friend. First episode of 2022. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. It's been a minute since I've recorded any podcast. Took off for a couple of weeks. Glad to be back. Got a lot of topics to talk about on this show today. Spider-Man, Matrix, Hawkeye, Boba Fett, keeps going. Doctor Strange. I mean, it just doesn't end. But before we get into that, I want everybody to know that our Stream Lounge episodes will return tomorrow and Friday. We'll be finishing off Hawkeye tomorrow. And then on Friday, Book of Boba Fett's here. Ray, I talked to you about this and you prematurely made your Batman model, but I will be building this Boba Fett head. For those of you who can't see that are listening, a Star Wars Lego set. You can hear it. Boba Fett bust. I'm going to be building this live while we watch Boba Fett on the air for added value because everybody loves Lego. People say, who wants to hear that? You watch. People will be like, what, did you finish it yet? Be building it right here at the broadcast desk while we broadcast, thus making me a multifaceted broadcaster. You can see right here, if you're watching, it is in fact Boba Fett on the back and his helmet. So a little Christmas present to myself.
Nice.
I did. I bought it for myself. I don't care. I don't have any shame about it. I'm gonna make it.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's
nothing wrong with that. I got my Batman one from my friend, but
yeah, you built your Batman without me, which is fine.
Well, because the thing is that I really want to when I build Legos, I kind of need to concentrate, and I can't host and watch TV and talk to you.
I can. So that's
you can do that. I can't do that. I had football on in the background, and I meticulously, slowly built my Legos.
It's a Batman that's on my Batman bust. There. I'm building the Boba Fett bust, and then it will be displayed in multiple studios, and hopefully it doesn't break.
There you go. Yeah,
Matt Cavalieri.
Batman one was harder to put together than I expected.
Yeah, they're not easy.
Cav says it's 4D stream. Yeah, it's harder to put together than I thought it would be.
I've got
almost 100 pages.
Right here. You know, this is 100 pieces. Do you believe that? It's like 100 pieces right here.
Yeah, this was 100 pages, the Batman one, not 100 pieces. It's 100 pages
sense.
of instructions.
Yeah, this one's 625 pieces. It's for 18 and up, so I barely made the cut on that.
It is again, it is. They don't look like they are, but they are actually harder Legos than they look.
I wonder how tall
and what's up, Casey? What's up, Andrew?
It's just over 10 inches. So I'm looking forward to building this.
Yes,
I'm
going to say this. I'll be impressed if you finish it during the stream lounge.
Oh, I don't think I'm going to finish it in one stream, but I'm only going to build it while I'm streaming. That's the idea.
Okay,
it's possible.
Boba Fett streams.
It's possible.
I will say. I think you'll finish it by season's end, but I think it's going to take you a while.
That's fine. It's not a race. I'm just saying I'm going to build it while we're watching it.
Yeah. So, but again, if you're watching us live, Stream Lounge, we are finishing off Hawkeye on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. And then we're going to go back to our Friday weekly Star Wars streams. We're doing the first 2 episodes of Book of Boba Fett this week. And then we're going to be going to the rest of Book of Boba Fett every week after that. If you're listening to the podcast after the fact, we always appreciate it. This might come out before the Book of Boba Fett. If not, go to streamlounge.io. You can rewatch our watch alongs and then join us every subsequent Friday after that, for sure. Cav says he's not letting you end the Stream Lounge stream until you finish it. No, definitely. I genuinely believe if each Boba Fett episode's about 30 to 40 minutes, I think he's going to need more than 2 episodes.
I said, I'm not racing here. I'm just saying I'm going to do it while we're watching Boba Fett. That's going to be what I do when we watch Boba Fett. If I get it done quickly, That's great. But it's not a race for me.
Yes. We will discuss at least the first episode of Book of Boba Fett later on in the show. We have a big show for you. We got sports news from all 4 major sports, a lot of football, and then we got some hockey, some basketball, and a little bit of baseball to ruin your day. And then, of course, we got a lot of video game stuff as it's at the end of the year, and a lot of TV, a lot of movie stuff. We've got DC, we've got Cobra Kai, we've got, of course, a lot of Marvel. Casey just mentioned in chat that he's got the collector's AT-AT. That looks like a very cool Lego. I think another friend of ours, Mike Alexander, I think had that as well. So, and yeah, Matt says, I might, that's the thing, Matt, that's why I didn't want to build my Batman while he was doing his Boba Fett, is I think that, again, especially if me as a Lego builder, Matt says that I'd be doing most of the hosting duties. I very much get in the zone when I build with my Legos, and I would probably be a really terrible host. So I can't do Lego building and hosting, but Lee is a multi-talented wonder, and he will be able to handle it. I will have to focus on just hosting. But there we go. So
Are you focused right now?
Moving on now. Kicking.
Excuse me, bother. You say you focused right now? Are you?
I want to get into it. I'm trying. I took a nap before the show today. I'm not going to lie. A little tired. Getting back into the swing of things. It was a long first couple of days back at work. A lot of stuff going on over there. Andrew mentioned in the chat he just bought the Hogwarts castle. Wow, very impressive. I'm sure that is something to see.
Built it in 2 days.
Sensei Solo just jumped into the chat. I know
the crew is here. Let's get into it. Yes. This is going to be an awesome episode. Yes, again, Spider-Man, Hawkeye, Black Panther, Matrix, Batman, everything's on today.
Yes.
We got everything.
We are kicking things off with the Marvel Universe. We are kicking things off with Spider-Man No Way Home. We've given you all, now it's been over 2.5 weeks since the movie's released.
Yeah. So if it's not spoiled for you already, I don't know how you did that.
Yes. This is the spoiler cast, just so you are aware. But yeah, and Sensei says he's also looking forward to the Book of Boba Fett talk. We will get to that as well, but we are kicking off again with Marvel, Spider-Man No Way Home, and to me, I'm going to say it was a good movie. I do not think it is the best Spider-Man movie ever. I do not think, again, I think it was put up to an impossible level of hype. But I do think it was very good. I think it stuck to the core of what Spider-Man's character is that he continues on through unimaginable loss no matter what. It left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth with the ending. I particularly wasn't a huge fan of what Spidey had to give up to save the multiverse, which we know he doesn't, because it's going to basically be the lead in to Doctor Strange 2, is that what Doctor Strange does in this film is the direct catalyst to Doctor Strange 2. We're going to get to that in a second. Lee, before we get into the nitty gritty, what were your general thoughts on No Way Home? Is it the best Spider-Man ever, do you think?
Ray, I disagree with you. I don't know about the best Spider-Man ever. Spider-Man 2 was really, really, really good. But
yes, to me, that's still the best.
I don't think this was just good. I thought this movie was phenomenal. I saw it twice. The first time I saw it, you get in that holy hell, what's going to happen next? I waited, and then I saw it again, and I was like, okay, wow, this is really good. I never got a sour taste in my mouth. All of the little tiny, little nitty gritty quirks that could have been questionable don't bother me. I think this is one of the best movies the MCU's ever made. And I'll tell you what, I took a step back and I thought about this. To pull off what they pulled off as well as they did was unbelievable to me. It is insanely hard to bring back one character from another universe and make it work, much less two, much less to fit in multiple memes in a tasteful way that didn't seem fake. By the way, what do I mean by that? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. That's what I mean by fake. Like, that was a complete sellout scene in X-Men 3, the greatest and worst movie ever made. It was a horrible movie. All right. To pull it off, to introduce Garfield and to introduce Maguire in a way that made it nostalgic and unbelievably heartwarming, to completely give Garfield Spider-Man every ounce of understanding, and they totally nailed it. And then, it's amazing what happens when they put Andrew Garfield into a good Spider-Man universe. And I was discussing this actually with our friend Casey, that it's not that his movies were bad. His movies, when you look at them, are not that bad. They just came out at a weird time. Like, they came out in the middle of the MCU being built. So like, we had this kind of additional judgment on it. But I think to pull off what they pulled off as well as they did, not only sets a bar for the entire MCU and the multiverse moving forward. Okay, but I think that the writers deserve a lot of credit. I think that the actors deserve a lot of credit. And I think that the movie was just insanely well done. Right? Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, we can hear you. Your screen froze a bit, but I can still hear you.
That's
talking about the writers and everything. So yeah.
So what I'll say is this: I think it is one of the best films they've ever made. I think it is an incredible undertaking, and I think the fact that people are not talking about that shows you how good it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
think that is fair. I mean, look, Garfield redeemed himself completely. They redeemed his character. I think his films were definitely not. I don't think his films. I think his first film was fine. I think the second one was a real mistake. I really liked how they they kind of fixed everybody in a way, even though that was also the plan. But like, I mean, in terms of like a lot of the like they I think they did a great job with Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin. I think they fixed Electro. I know Thomas Hayden Church. The only reason why you only got very little of him, not in Sandman form, was he had a conflict. But obviously, he came. Right. He did the voiceover. He did
do the voice
for everything. So
yeah,
that's why they kept him in Sandman form. Same thing.
Any of it. I don't see anything they did wrong. Again, I didn't mind the Garfield movies that much. I think again, it was tough to compete with the MCU at the time. It just wasn't to par. But Garfield is a great Spider-Man. He never deserved.
Oh, he is. There's no denying that. It wasn't his fault. But again, to me, the second movie really dropped the ball.
Right.
Again,
I love the joke they made. I love the joke he made. He's like, I'm lame. I found a crazy Russian and a rhinoceros machine. I think that's my favorite line in the entire movie. And then I just love Tobey Maguire. You're amazing. You're the amazing Spider-Man. I mean, it was listen, it was gutsy. The script writing was incredible. I love the Avengers. The Avengers, that's great. What is that? Like, there's just so well done.
Is they a rock band? Are you in a band?
yeah. I mean, I love those scenes. And then obviously, like we've seen a billion times now, but them jumping up together. I mean, that's a dream come true for us, right? Like, that's unbelievable. Now, in terms of the ending, like the pseudo, New Day ending. All right, I don't mind it as much.
Pseudo one more day.
One more day. Yeah, I don't mind that as much as you did, because it's not the same, right? Like, he didn't give up or bring anybody back to life to do that. The other thing too is that, like, I thought about it, like, why would they do that? Number one, it brings this version of Spider-Man current, right? He has gone through the cycle of wanting to be the hero to becoming the hero. It is a fresh start for him. It's also a fresh start when you think about that Sony still owns this character, right? So they left it in a place of like, okay, they can literally now go anywhere from there. He can be in the Sonyverse, he can be in the MCU. He's still Spider-Man. Nobody knows who he is, which is exactly where Spider-Man should be, kind of at the beginning of his full arc. So I didn't mind any of that. If they had been like, oh, I want Aunt May to come back to life and I'm making a deal with the devil and MJ is going to forget about me, like exactly the comic book, I would have been devastated by that. But I like what they did. It makes sense. It gives him a chance to be redeemed and have an epic comeback in a future film. And I can't think of one thing about this film that I left feeling, oh man, that was really stupid. I really hate that they did that. I think the only thing that might have been hurt was, like, predictions we might have had that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that. I just think it went really well.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a couple of nitpicky things. Like, I wish I know that Sony prevented them from doing a true Sinister Six and didn't want Michael Keaton's Vulture here to do that, because
there was a sixth villain. This was after the credits.
Are you thinking Venom? Venom wasn't.
I'm not thinking it. I'm just saying there were 6 of them there. That's all I'm saying. No, it was not a Sinister Six.
Okay, but like, come on, he didn't
it
fight
was not
Venom.
A Sinister Six.
He was there as a comedy relief thing, and then they're going to do this whole thing.
It was not
with the hive mind. Are you kidding me? With a hive mind knows who Peter Parker is, and that's how he got pulled into the universe. Like, already the Tom Hardy Venom is kind of cheesy, but to me that was a little too much.
Well, like I said,
a little too much.
They were just connecting a dot there. That's all that was. For anybody who saw Venom too, but no, they wouldn't let him do the Sinister Six, and maybe that'll be the next thing. But we don't know where Holland is going to go.
Well, they've already said that's what Sony wants to still do, a version of their Sinister Six, and I will say that this movie can be better in the long run, depending on how they follow up with it.
Absolutely.
Me, right. Yeah, if they bring Garfield back and they do continue his story now and bring him back into the Sonyverse, then I think I'd be okay with that. Like,
see, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I need any more Garfield or Tobey Maguire films. And this is the problem that Hollywood often makes. This movie left with me, for me, I don't need any more of those two. It was a nice closure. Like, and what they'll say, oh, we have to get these guys on screen again and double and triple and quadruple down. And that is when you screw things up. When you make a second version of this, that's when you screw things up. I'm not against them making a third Garfield film, but again, listen, how many Batmans do we need? How many, you're in danger of falling into that. And I'm not saying Garfield doesn't deserve a third movie, but no, I don't need split Spider-Man. I don't need multiverse Spider-Man. You're opening yourself up to be disappointed at that point, in my opinion. Right. And again, I said after I saw the movie, I said, you watch, Sony will try and revive one of these guys. And that's exactly what they're talking about now. And I think it's a major
Yeah,
mistake.
they're talking about bringing out Garfield because, again, we still don't know. Again, we'll get to this also. I mean, we'll just briefly mention Morbius was delayed again now till April 1st. We still have no idea how that ties into everything, considering Michael Keaton's Vulture is in that. Like, it's everything right now is kind of a mess. This movie tied up some loose ends, but not enough. And you don't know if Morbius or Doctor Strange 2, which again, the Darkstroke mentions in chat, the end credits was disappointing. He wasn't a big fan of the Venom scene either, or that basically the second Easter egg was the Doctor Strange 2 trailer, which we'll get into in a second.
Yeah.
I think that it's left more open than not, and I think that all of this, and again, to me as a fan, it felt disappointing. Like, everybody was talking about how great it was that Tom Holland didn't have an origin film. They got right into it, didn't have an origin film, and instead it turns into an origin trilogy.
Yeah.
And you go from this completely different thing where he had all of this stuff, instead of Peter Parker, who he didn't have a lot and he worked his way up. And now instead he had all this stuff and he lost everything. And now he's back to square one, to where a lot of folks know him from the comics. It just felt like a weird way to turn it on its head just to get a clean slate for Tom Holland.
I didn't mind it at all. Like I said, like, I don't know where else we could have gone with that character. Like, here's another thing, Ray. I like the fact that when he has the whole universe forget who he was, his Iron Man suit won't work anymore because it doesn't know who he is. Like, and that's why he has to go back to his roots. I like it. I like where it's left off. I like listen, it's a new challenge. It's a new storyline, right? I don't know where else that character could have gone without doing that. Right. And because here's the thing, you can't just make him a generic MCU character. Right. And like, if you look at all the characters that are still alive, like, look at how they're having to evolve them. And I'm not criticizing this. Like, Thor was left in a very interesting place where he's with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Ant-Man, they're going to have to bring in, the Conqueror to make him relevant again, because there's nowhere else for him to go. So now they're going to have to go to the quantum, level. Doctor Strange is appropriately arcing, because we remember there's only a second film. Like, he's appropriately involved in the MCU. But like, think about it. Like, where they had to do something with Captain America, which they did. They had to do something with Wanda. That arc didn't feel so great. Right. So like I'm saying they can't risk making Spider-Man just a general MCU character. And what they did was, and I think it was brilliant, they have set him up now where he can go any direction he wants to. And I think that that's insanely valuable for that, because again, we've said this on the show before, in the hierarchy of comics, right? There's the MCU, there's the DCU. When it comes to the MCU and Marvel, it's three things. It's like the Avengers universe, X-Men, Spider-Man. He's the only one. I think Batman's number one in the world.
Batman for sure in DC. Yeah.
And Spider-Man's
and then
number
probably
2.
Superman, and then everything else.
I have no problem with what they did. Like I said, that was not going to be wrapped up nicely in any way. Like, there wasn't going to be a bow on the end. Right. You needed more reason to watch him. And like, now we're all wondering what happened. And the thing is, he can come back in a lot of different ways. And like, I like the idea of him coming back and people not knowing who he is. That's comic traditional, as it should be.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think it also, though, it's comic traditional, but in the sense of this universe,
right?
Which already isn't it's not entirely comic traditional. It's its own universe.
Right.
You, in a way, to me, you've cheapened Peter Parker's old relationships, because yes, I know Tony's dead, but like, you even saw it at the end with Happy being like, when they go to May's grave, he's like, yeah, I know Spider-Man. I don't know who this is. It really felt like, it really feels like it cheapens his old relationships and kind of lessens his importance.
I think it does the opposite.
Films.
I think it does the opposite, because he's not relying on anyone anymore. He is Spider-Man fully now. He doesn't need anybody. He doesn't have anybody. That's Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man. Look, do you remember how much crap he took for teaming up with Stark in the first movie? Like people gave him so much crap for that. Like, not Holland, but the character. Like, he doesn't need. How is Tony Stark's helping him out? That's not Spider-Man.
See, but that's the thing. To me, at some point, these studios who are so adamant about doing on their own, like doing all their own thing, and then they capitulated to the toxic fanboy at the end anyway. That's what it is.
I don't agree. It's toxic fanboy having him do this. There's other things there's other things they could have done, but I'm not gonna chalk it up to that. I don't think it's toxic where they went with it. And I'll say this again, like, look, The whole trilogy is about him coming out of Iron Man's shadow, which he has done. In fact, the second movie is all about him being in the shadow, right? And then, keeping in mind, this movie takes place about a week after Far From Home.
Yeah, it picks up right where it left off, which again, there's a lot of convenience there, by the way.
Right.
With like,
that is the one complaint I had. You're right. That is the one complaint, that the Mysterio unveiling just kind of gets wiped under the rug.
Completely thrown under the rug at the very beginning, where as we predicted, Charlie Cox does indeed make his return as Daredevil, as Matt Murdock, as Spider-Man's lawyer, and all he basically says is like, yeah, these charges aren't going to stick. You're fine to live your life. And then there's a cute moment where a brick gets thrown to the window and Charlie, Daredevil catches it. Matt Murdock. It's like, but it's like, it's it's a great line.
They hid that massive plot problem under that scene. But it's like you went through all this trouble for Mysterio to unveil him just to be like, oh no, it's no big deal.
And I think that's something that Marvel's going to start doing a lot of, especially with the Doctor Strange 2 trailer. We saw them do the same thing with Wanda. We saw it in the trailer where like when Doctor Strange goes to confront Wanda, he's like, I'm here for your help. She's like, you're not. It's like, I'm not here about Westview. Like, I don't care. It's like, which again, in terms of Doctor Strange, that is part of his character because he's like, he cares about. He's like, what do I care about one little town in Jersey? I'm trying to save the multiverse, right? Right,
but fair, I don't mind that either because I don't care what happened to that town after she left anyway. But
no, I get that. But again, it's I don't want Marvel to start like one of the great things about the early Marvel films is it felt like there were a lot of consequences for everything, and now it's starting to feel like that in kind of in comic book form is that when it's convenient. They just kind of sweep things under the rug to make things all neat and tidy so they can tell another story that they want to tell. And I feel that the strings are starting to get a little frayed. By the way, real quick in chat, thank you so much, Andrew and Darkstroke, who just donated in chat. That's a big deal for me. Thank you guys so much.
Andrew and Darkstroke, was that for me or was that for Ray? Because it all goes to Ray. Anyway, look, this is what I'll say too, is that there are some interesting things about how this movie ended. So the spell at the end goes, everyone on Earth will forget Peter Parker is Spider-Man. There are a few major characters that are not on Earth. So I have a feeling that's going to play into it. That would be a nice twist. Obviously Nick is not on Earth. I mean, Fury's not on Earth, and there's a few other.
And Fury probably will always forever know who he is because that's what Fury is. Fury always will figure it out.
Yeah, Fury doesn't know who Captain Marvel will not know. Will know who he is. So anyway, look, I'm happy with where they left it. It was an insanely enjoyable film. Insanely enjoyable.
Overall, for sure. Yeah.
The Spider-Man scenes alone made it worth it. And I want to say this one more time. I got to reiterate this. To write that as well as they did, for it not to be lame, for it not to be cheesy and just horrible. It was so well written. That scene was so satisfying for that reason alone. I mean, look, the last scene that was that satisfying, if you think about, actually, I'm going to do this. If I'm ranking scenes here, like the three Spider-Men together, I mean, if you look at the last few films, really, it's everyone showing up in Avengers Endgame. It's Thor showing up in Infinity War. It's Captain America showing up in Infinity War. It's Luke Skywalker showing up. It's that level, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I still think the Avengers scene is the top of that tier.
The Endgame scene for sure. Yeah. But what I'm saying is the fact we're comparing it to that scene. I don't know. Can you name any other standalone Marvel shows or movies that had a moment like that? Because I
see,
can't.
The thing is because I'll say this also, just because we knew so much about this film going into it, it didn't hit with me as hard as those other scenes did because I expected this more. Like as soon as Andrew Garfield in his introduction scene, I knew it wasn't.
Oh yeah, of course, Tom Holland. But it was awesome.
You knew it. Like that's immediately. My point.
It was awesome. It was awesome. I loved every second of it. I loved all the villains. It was just so well done.
No, the villains were all great. Yeah. I think everybody who came back did a fantastic job. Alfred Molina was fantastic, which, by the way, Alfred Molina helping them at the end was like that. Again, his arc was perfect for him. Right. Darkstroke mentions Willem Dafoe stole the show. I completely agree with that.
Awesome. Did his own stunts.
Especially love the fact.
Did his own stunts in this film. He did his own.
Yeah, he did all his own stunts.
Yeah.
He had a more comic accurate Goblin outfit, which I thought was great.
Right.
Speaking about good things from the comics, instead of that weird. I mean, for the time of 2001,
what's cool too is the Spider-Man suit at the end was an ode to all three suits. So he took elements from Maguire's suit and he took elements from Garfield's suit.
From Garfield.
But look, this is what I'll say too, because we got to move on to something else at some point.
Yes.
I told you we can do the whole episode on this film.
For sure.
The villains were excellent. Look, this is what I'll say. I'll agree with you on this, Ray. There was no great. I get two things on this. There was no great surprise of this film that I did not see coming. Like there was nothing in the film that was like, oh my, whoa, like, but at the same time, every scene where we were expecting something was super satisfying. And the reason I'm saying that is because this film wasn't ruined by anything before the film came out, unless you saw a spoiler. Like even with what we knew, it wasn't bad. So I don't know if there's any way this film could have had.
Again, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not ranking it as highly as a lot of other.
I loved it. I loved it. I'm ranking it really high. I mean, it's a top 5 film for me in the MCU right now. I thought it was that good.
For me, it's maybe top 10.
Sure. I think that's high praise when there's 25 films out, 25 properties out.
Right. No, again, it's still a good movie, right? Like it's not Captain Marvel. Like, I mean, so which wasn't terrible. I don't think it was as bad. I don't think that was terrible.
I would say there's the Ant-Man line. The Ant-Man is the middle of the MCU. If it's above, it's great. If it's below, it's
yeah.
Like I said, even Thor 2, which is notoriously the lowest ranked film, is not a horrible film.
Yeah, but I do think we both agree it's going to be very interesting to see where they go from here. Personally, I want to see them bring in Black Cat at this point. We've never seen a true Black.
Yeah, who knows what? I mean, we saw Black Cat in the clouds. Like I said, when the universe was breaking open there at the end, you saw Kraven, you saw Scorpion, you saw a lot of different MCU people. You saw Black Cat too, like in the stars. You could see these people plus other people. But I don't even know when he's slated to return. I have no idea. In fact, it was very ominous. There was no Spider-Man will return at the end either. So we don't know when we're going to see him again, or what universe. It could be anywhere.
That's the other thing too is what universe will he be in, and that's going to be very interesting. Again, we mentioned the delays of Morbius, but everything else for the for anything Spider related seems to still be on track. For later this year and Marvel related. And that brings us to Doctor Strange 2, which is of course about 7 months away now. We got the Doctor Strange 2 trailer. I freaked. I will say this, my biggest reaction was when I saw Shu McGorath actually in the trailer, for those of you who don't know, because I was talking about that a lot in obviously from Marvel vs. Capcom 2, obviously a long time Marvel comic book villain, but also I was talking about it in What If, and I don't know if it's directly connecting to What If. But
it totally is.
It has to be, because we got Strange. He looks like Strange Supreme. Shu McGorath. There's rumors now that there's going to be an evil Iron Man in this film. That's being played by Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I heard that too, which is funny because everybody says he would have been the '90s Tony Stark. The other thing too is the reason I know it connects, Ray, because if you watch the trailer, the scene in the beginning is it's from What If. He comes outside and the scenery is dripping ink away. Like it's directly out of What If. So I think it's going to follow that heavily. And I think there's going to be more than the 2 Doctor Stranges. I think there's going to be multiple Doctor Stranges in this film. All right. Like just like Spider-Man, I think it'll be 3 or more. But I just love things are getting out of hand. That was just brilliant. At the end there. So I'm looking forward to that. No idea where they're going with that. Like that's the big key. That's the difference between Spider-Man and this. Don't know where they're going to go with this at all.
I have a friend at Marvel who has basically already seen Doctor Strange 2 and knows what's going to happen, or at least a rough cut. Again, we're 6 months away from release, so that makes sense. And they basically said, not to give anything away, but he said what everybody is speculating on, nobody is even close.
That's good.
He says He said this movie will be the movie that defines this phase and that will change everything.
Good. I hope Kang shows up.
Yeah,
that's what I want. That's what I want.
Mephisto. It's Mephisto.
Right. No, I hope Kang shows up. I hope the big arc here is that Kang has been unleashed. Like again, the big connection point that hasn't happened yet is that in Loki, the multiverse is born, right? And they haven't connected at all that all these multiverse films are possible now because of that moment, right? It's a pretty major moment. There was no multiverse before he destroyed the sacred timeline. Hence, these films are even available now.
Yes.
There's been no connection to that yet. I think this next film is going to connect that.
Yeah, I think it's gonna start tying everything together. It's gonna start bringing in a lot of stuff from the TV shows. Obviously, Wanda, she will be redeemed here in a big way because they're already getting into the idea that she is on Doctor Strange's side. She's not the villain as we thought or suspected previously, or at least on a more villainous arc. But it does also bring in the idea that she's gonna probably try to save her children and whatnot, and set up Young Avengers and all the other stuff. This film could, again, there's a lot. Even more than Spider-Man, there is more riding on Doctor Strange too.
Right.
And I am super excited. And like Darkstroke just said in chat, he thinks Doctor Strange 2 could be one of the best Marvel films. And just because we don't know what to expect. Well, being surprised is a big deal.
I'll say this too. Doctor Strange could be the bad guy in this film. All right. We've seen this in Civil War.
Doctor Strange. Sure. Yeah.
So here's the other thing too that I'll say is that you're seeing Marvel taking major steps to have other characters step into roles. All right, Captain America is gone in terms of Chris Evans, Captain America. Iron Man is gone. So Doctor Strange is absolutely stepping into the Tony Stark role now in terms of his place in the MCU. I don't think that was ever going to be Spider-Man. I think that's another thing that film championed, by the way, is that he's not Tony Stark, but Doctor Strange is going to be that presence. Hoping they're going to make current Captain America, a major role again. I hope they don't just sideswipe what they've done there. And then, and we'll get into it too. And then there's the Black Panther quandary of where are we going with that? But you're seeing other characters now step in.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with Thor. Right. I don't think they're going to do much more with Guardians after Guardians 3.
No, after the Christmas special in Guardians 3, there's already been talks that half the Guardians are going to die in Guardians 3. Right. Mostly because some of them don't want to do it anymore. And it's also a way to kind of really start to tie up some of those loose ends. But we already know it's already been confirmed. Guardians 3, the villain, one of the major characters is going to be Adam Warlock. Right. That's already been confirmed. I think we've mentioned it before on the show. That was confirmed by James Gunn that Adam Warlock will be a huge presence in Guardians 3, which again opens us up to a lot of things. Does Adam Warlock get the Soul Stone? Right. Like, is that going to bring that back into all of this? Because again, in the comics, he's the protector of the Soul Stone. It's not Red Skull for whatever reason. But it's going to be interesting to see. They could go, like you said, 100 different ways.
Yeah, and that's what's exciting about it. And same thing with Quantum Mania. Like, they've got plans to expand this, but they're firmly right now in Phase 4 establishing where characters fall. Like, where are these characters going to be? It's also very obvious, Ray, that, and we can switch to Hawkeye here, that they're creating shows for the future. Like again, we have the Young Avengers fully ready to go. We have what's it called? The Dark Avenger people. I can't remember the name right now.
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts is clearly. I think that's the next phase of TV shows we're going to see, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, every MCU show has gotten better as they've gone. Each one is better than the previous.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Hawkeye was phenomenal. And you mentioned that brings the Hawkeye. We haven't talked about the Hawkeye finale. Yeah. By the way, why the hate with all the Hawaiian shirts? I don't understand.
Right. I don't understand that either.
It's from the comics. For those of you who don't know, Kingpin was a massive character, literally and figuratively, in the last couple episodes of Hawkeye. It really showed off the power of the Kingpin, if you're not familiar with him, as he kind of really handled Kate Bishop. And it left it open-ended. But it has been a lot of folks
comic accurate what happened to him.
Yes, very comic accurate. Yes. It has been said that Wilson Fisk does survive his encounter with Echo or Maya Lopez, who will become Echo.
So for those of you who don't know, obviously Echo shoots Kingpin at the end, but that is an exact page for page remake from a comic, right? And he does survive in the comic too, but like. Look, they had to end it somehow, and he's back, and he's gonna be pissed. It's awesome.
Yes. Well, and an interesting thing too is I think that what they're talking about is that what Echo is going to really explore is stuff during the blip, is what I've heard. Because, Darkstroke, I agree. Kingpin is going to be a huge part of the Echo show, as he just mentioned in chat. I think what they're going to talk about is part of the reason why. the Kingpin, they're going to explain that why the Kingpin wanted to kill off Echo's dad was because of a power grab. And they're going to explain that the Kingpin and his crime organization was severely weakened by the blip, right? Like he lost, like, even though it's supposed to be random, like supposedly it was like he lost like 60 to 70% of his criminal empire due to the blip. And he kind of had to rebuild a lot of things. I think that's the direction, at least these are the early rumors about where they're going to go. And it's going to be Echo trying to take them down as the Kingpin is still in the midst of rebuilding everything.
Right.
And I think that's going to be a great way to go. I think that's a great way to go because that also, again, very much from the comics.
Right.
But,
you also
Hawkeye
bring
ended tremendous.
Spider-Man into this. Like that's another direction.
Yes, you could bring them back in a big way. You could bring in Luke Cage if you wanted. You could bring in, like, I'm not going to say Iron Fist, but you can bring in Luke Cage, and like the characters from in and around the Manhattan who have had dealings with the Kingpin before. Again, the Kingpin, right. People don't understand the Kingpin is one of the biggest villains in Marvel. For somebody who is not a superpowered being, he's just a really big dude.
Hey, look, if you grew up in the 90s like Ray and I did, he was the biggest villain in the MCU for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like he was the villain. That was it. There was like the other ones were all side villains and he was running the whole show, especially if you watch Spider-Man. Right. So,
yes.
Like I said, I in the 90s, I mean, he was the one even in the video games, he was the guy. Right.
Yeah.
So, it's only been since the MCU started that he's kind of taken a back seat. And then he was great in Daredevil, especially when he was rated R.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to him coming back and to see where they go with the underbelly of New York. And again, a lot of characters possible to work with him and a lot of ways they could use him. Keeping in mind too, in Into the Spider-Verse, he was diving into the multiverse. So he did it before everybody else did.
Yeah. Yeah, a version of the Kingpin, one of the Kingpins out there in the multiverse. So yeah. But yeah, Hawkeye 5 and 6, couple of things. Swordsman, not a bad guy.
Nope. Wait. Called it. I called that.
Lee called it. I did not. I
said it. I think I said it. Like, wouldn't it be funny if he's not a bad guy? He's just literally.
He's just the dude who's got a sword fetish. That's
I knew that was a diversion, and I actually like how they played it off with him with the LARPers at the end.
Yes,
that was pretty funny. So
yeah. No, and of course the mom is the one who ends up going to jail, and she'll probably just stay there because
we predicted that pretty darn close. Yeah, we predicted that one really well, and
yeah,
like again, it was another Spider-Man-esque like no major surprises at the end. Right. The only surprise, and it was very telegraphed, we should have picked up on it, was that Clint's wife is
Mockingbird. Yeah, we kind of started to suspect that there when the watch became a big deal. But we talked about that. Obviously, she's probably a SHIELD agent. Is she Mockingbird? Is she not? So and she is. It's confirmed. She
the
is
number
that
on the watch is Mockingbird's number. But so it was really nicely done. It felt great. I said this to Ray the night, and I was like, look, they proverbially tied it nicely in a bow for Christmas. It was well done. Yeah. It felt good. Yes. The final fight was both ridiculous and awesome with the tree at Ray and I's old place of business, 30 Rock, where we have worked many winners for the NFL and NBC, which is true. To see that tree fall was hilarious on the ice rink that you and I pass by every single day. By far the best part of the whole thing was the owl sitting in the tree and then them using the PIM particles to shrink the van. And they said, what do we do with it? And the owl takes it and Clint goes, oh, there's always that. It's just like, you want to talk about just explaining something away real quick?
That's it.
There you go.
It's gone. It's gone.
And I love the Home Alone scene where they're making the arrows and the music is very much like Kevin McAllister's booby trap.
Yes.
It was well done.
No, they did a really great job with it. And it was
Geeks Who Like Sports. That show was who we thought it was. And we let him off the hook. It's exactly what that was. It's exactly. But no, it was delightful. That was the way I would describe it. Really great cinematography, great character development for Clint. Obviously great introductions to Kate Bishop. I'm looking forward to see where they go from there. Absolutely predicted that he was going to bring her home, which is exactly what happened. Yeah. So looking forward to seeing where it goes from here.
Yeah. Again, and now another young Avenger has been set up and all this other stuff. Other characters that are being set up and in this case might be maybe killed off. This is a kind of disappointing story, but it's not a surprise too much. Black Panther 2 is in the middle of a bunch of rewrites now and possibly reshoots because Shuri, they're potentially going to kill her off because the actress who plays her, whose name escapes me at the moment, is anti-vax. And they basically said that they're basically, if she's not going to, she's basically creating a hostile work environment over this. And so we talk about it all the time on the show, and we're going to get into this more later with Kyrie Irving and all that other stuff, is that actions have consequences.
Right.
And that's perfectly fine that she doesn't want to get vaccinated, but you're going to cost yourself millions of dollars because now basically Marvel is going to kill you off from being the Black Panther, which then puts this entire franchise up in limbo because
it does. And it's a problem. It's a problem. That character, the Black Panther, is insanely important cultural character, insanely important. And if it is ruined because of politics, I cannot think of a bigger disservice to that community. All right.
Letitia Wright, by the way, that's the actress.
Right. I just can't. It's like, you did such a great job, championing that character. Don't screw it up now. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm sure they'll figure it out, but we'll see.
We'll see. Again, it's just one of those things though. But again, we've talked about this, right? A workplace and an employer has the right to enforce this the same way,
let me stress this again. I'm not getting into that because they do whatever they got to do. I'm saying that everybody involved with this better figure it the hell out, because this is a very delicate place for this character right now. And for politics to come into it and ruin it from both sides, either side. Like, I'm not, what I'm saying is, I don't care what side of the argument anybody's on right now. Like, I have my thoughts on it, obviously, but just do this right. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I'm very pro-vaccine, so I'm not going to deny that I think Letitia Wright's a moron. And I think that, honestly, there's a lot of push again now to just recast Black Panther.
Yeah, I've been hearing that too.
I mean, and that's, at first I said, no, I think this is the way to go. But if your plan is now instead to kill off Shuri, I would rather you recast. I would rather you, like you said, I think the character is too important. I'd rather you recast Black Panther and let it keep being T'Challa.
Right.
Like, I think that's, like you said, I think the character's too important.
Well,
you kind of just let it go by the wayside. Black Panther 2 is done. All the Black Panthers are dead. Okay, moving on. Like,
this is where the multiverse plays in perfectly.
That's also true.
Because you could just borrow another one. True. You could just borrow another Black Panther and be right back to square one.
There you go. T'Challa from Earth, yada, 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 whatever number you want to put out there. And that's how you do it, potentially. If you can't figure it out with Letitia Wright, or if she doesn't want to get the jab, then that's it. If you come to an impasse, like you said, bring in a Black Panther from another universe. There you go. Right. There's your solution. Bye-bye, Letitia Wright. Bye-bye, Shuri. We don't need you because we have the multiverse now. Yay. So moving on now from Marvel into Star Wars.
Yes.
Book of Boba Fett debuted. Book of Boba Fett is here. Episode 1. I'm not going to lie, Lee. It wasn't bad. It kind of planted, again, spoilers, everybody, spoilers. You've had a week. It's planting seeds. I'm okay with it being a slow start because it's clearly planting seeds for the rest of the season.
What does slow start even mean? Like, I've heard some of the dumbest criticisms of this episode. I'm not pointing at you, Ray. But I've heard people be like, well, it's not The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian has 2 seasons, and they introduced Luke Skywalker in the last episode. Is that you can't compare those 2 things? That's like comparing Endgame to Ant-Man. Like, you can't do it. So people go, it was slow. It's slow. What? Give me a second, because I got to tell you something that pisses me off about this criticism. I'm not talking about you again. I'm just talking in general. Mm-hmm. They gave us an answer to a 40-year-old question. All right. They gave you the answer. They showed it to you. It was Patton Oswalt's exact description of it.
I know we've seen that
All
comparison
right,
now
like-
a million times
like,
this past
They
week.
could have just done that, ended the episode, and I would have been completely content. What the hell are you people complaining about? This is where I think Star Wars fans are a little spoiled. Star Wars fans, you've got nothing to complain about right now. I want to go back, Ray, just a few years ago, where somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, I know.
Star Wars fans, look at me, Star Wars fans. Shut up and enjoy the music. Shut up. They're doing everything right. It was a slow start. What did you want? What did you want? I'm like, what did you want from that? Oh my God, everything is, see, Sensei Solo says it right there. That line hurts me. You want to talk about stupid, horrible ways to change a script just to be convenient? Somehow Palpatine returned. Someone wrote that, and Oscar Isaac had to say it. He had to look at the script. This is Oscar Isaac reading that script. You want me to say this? You want me to say this? He just returned. Yeah, Oscar, we want you to say that. There's no context on this. He just returned. Yes, we want you to say it. You don't want me to say something that like, oh, Luke's been dead for a year, so now he's not afraid anymore, so he's returned. You could add that line in and make this make a lot more sense. No, just say the line. Somehow Palpatine returned. Cut, print, moving on. We got to land the ship, folks. Star Wars fans, nothing to complain about. It was not an action-packed episode. It didn't need to be. They answered a question from 1983, okay, that we've been waiting to have an answer to. Thank you, Star Wars. That's what you need to be saying right now. Thank you.
Yeah. Which, by the way, you feel bad for that stormtrooper who's still in the belly of that Sarlacc.
No, I don't feel bad for him. He saved
I mean,
Boba Fett's life. Come on. I don't understand any criticism for that show yet.
So my one criticism for the episode.
Bring it on, man. I'm here. This is my realm now. You're in my world now.
I kind of wish it was the inverse in terms of present day versus flashbacks. 70% of the episode was flashback. And I feel that I have loved that we started on the flashback, came to the present day. I would not have then gone back to the flashback until the second episode. Okay. I feel that I would have tried to stay here for more of that episode. I think that was my issue. Obviously, we know the Tusken Raiders are going to be a big deal. He's going to ingratiate himself with them. That's why when we first see him in Mandalorian, he's wearing the Tusken robes. He has the Gothy stick. We know that's where this is going, which is why I don't think, unless it's just so that this way later on in the season, we don't have to deal with all these flashbacks. Right. I feel that having two flashbacks in this first episode was a bit much. I feel that I would have preferred.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would have preferred, for pacing purposes, it's fine opening on the flashback, stay in the present day. Even if these first few episodes, that's the formula. Begin with a flashback and then present day. Begin with a flashback and then present day. I feel that too much flashback took away from the overall impact of the episode. So that's all I want.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why. And I will also say this, Ray. I'll ask you this. Let's revisit that when the season ends and see if
it's true. Again, it could all pay off in the end.
Well, and here's why. There's a line in the show that kind of was glossed over, nobody's talking about, which he says, the dreams are back. Right. And it's easy for people to forget. We don't have much history of Boba Fett prior to anything either. So, like, his history is basically, I mean, for a mainstream Star Wars fan, his history pretty much ends in Attack of the Clones and picks up again in The Mandalorian, or I should say picks up in the original trilogy. If you're a diehard fan, obviously you saw a lot of him in Clone Wars and Rebels, right? But there's a lot of history here. Again, they didn't have to show the image of his home planet, right? Of him being on the clone planet. Name is escaping me for some reason right now. But anyway, they didn't have to show. Yeah, thank you. They didn't have to show that shot of Camino. They had to show the shot of him weeping over his father. So there's a lot they're going to dive into, I think, on flashbacks. And look, Mandalorian did this the whole first season. Mandalorian did this the whole first season. They kept flashing back. Now, again, they didn't do it multiple times an episode. Okay. But we got glimmers of Din as a child and Din getting, attacked by, so like, again, it's following the same formula. In fact, I had a good discussion the other day about, if you want to talk about slow, if you look at the Mandalorian season 1, which I love, but it's the same episode every episode. We go to a planet, we make money, Yoda screws it up, and we move on. Every episode was the same. Right. And intertwined into that was this history and character development. Right. Season 2 was unbelievably championed. Like that was probably the best Star Wars thing in really since Empire Strikes Back. All right. Right. But again, anybody criticize the show after one episode? What are you doing? What are you doing? Let it play out.
Well, I think to me, it's a small criticism. I'm curious to see where things go. Obviously, like you said, it could pay off more towards the end of the season. Right. And again, that's also why I said to start off is this episode is planting seeds. That was the purpose of this episode. It's planting seeds for stuff that will hopefully pay off at the end, because I don't think we're going to get a second book of Boba Fett.
Like if you think, I don't think we are either. And if I think it's more likely he's going to be part of the Mandalorian. But look, if you look at the Mandalorian's first episode, think about it. He walks into a bar. It sounds like a joke. Right. Think about everything you loved about the first episode. Oh my God, they made the freezing sound. Oh my God, he's frozen in carbonite. And then he gets a bounty. He goes. It's the same episode. If you think about it, goes for the bounty. And the end, there's a big surprise. Right, Baby Yoda, which was like, you saw that in the first episode. Like, why didn't you make the movies about this? Shh. Quiet. Actually, I'll give you a transitional device here. Quiet.
Yeah. we are going to get to that in a bit. We are going to get to that in a bit. But we're sticking with, we go from Marvel and Star Wars and Disney. We're going now to the other side of the coin, which is Warner Brothers and DC and Batman. But we're going to kick things off with a bigger thing for Warner Brothers. But that was a good transition. I almost took it. Because it was so good.
Quiet. Listen.
Yes. We'll get to that. Use that again in a bit. But first off, so we go from answering questions from 40 years ago to asking new ones after 20 years, I guess, with The Matrix 4 and Matrix Resurrections. Lee, I'm really curious to get your thoughts on this, because I actually really enjoyed this more than I thought I
loved it. Listen, two things happened with this film. I watched it, I think, a day or two after I saw Spider-Man, and I enjoyed it, but I realized I was like, it's very hard to follow up Spider-Man because you're expecting all these things. The film did not go the direction I was thinking it would, but it totally did fine. It totally wrapped up the story in a wonderful way, and I'm not gonna lie to you. For the first half of the film, something's going on, but you couldn't put your finger on it. And I really enjoyed that like, okay,
I would say you like the first hour to 2.5 hours.
Yeah, film. I something's up, but you can't put your finger on it. And I like any movie that makes me start thinking, well, okay, that's Morpheus. How is this happening? And you start to piece it together in your head. I think it was mildly predictable where it went. Right. The reverse bullet time. Like when they said something, early in the film, the guy's like, you have to have something better than bullet time. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what they're going to do that's better than bullet time. And they're like, reverse bullet time. And I was like, that's not better than bullet time. But I had no problem with where it went with Trinity and Neo, and I liked how it ended. I'll say this now: I don't need another one. I don't need them to go.
I agree. Of course, they leave it open ending because they have to. But
well, it bookended it. Let's be fair. It bookended the whole series, right? It ends the same way the first one does. Literally, same song and everything.
Yeah.
But definitely worth a watch. I didn't see it in the theater. I had no problem with that.
Me too.
I appreciate a conclusion to the story. I did, you know what I mean? And it was well done.
I think it made more sense than anything we got in Matrix 2 or 3.
Right.
I think it did a really good job of explaining a lot more of this new Matrix and how it came about. And again, spoilers, folks, you haven't seen it again. You've had a couple of weeks, But spoilers, right? Neil Patrick Harris's character as the analyst and what his role is, and he did a great job, by the way, like
awesome.
terrific job.
He's hilarious too. I love them.
Yeah. I think some of the meta jokes that they were doing in the first half hour kind of got old pretty quick, but I'm glad those kind of tapered off by the time hour 2 started. There were still a couple of meta references, but they made much more sense to the plot. Well, they weren't trying to make like an over the top commentary.
My complaints, again, if you put a gun in my head complaining, there wasn't enough character development on the new characters. Very convenient, like, oh, she's obsessed with Neo, and that's a new Morbius, and Morpheus.
There's a Neoologist on the crew, right?
Like that stuff was a little weird, but like once you get into the Neo stuff, and like that was a lot of fun. It just kind of it's like what's his name says. It's like to go back to the Matrix, like that was the best part of it, because like we got to relive it with modern tech, by the way. So my biggest issues with the original trilogy, Ray, was the first movie was phenomenal. It's one of the greatest movies ever made, in my opinion. Changed everything. Just changed everything. Agreed. And I was telling our producer Caitlin, I was watching the first one with her, and she's young. She was born a few years before that came out,
and it still holds up.
Yeah, it still holds up. And I told her too, like, you have to understand, in 1999, the infamous scene of Neo with bullet time falling backwards. I said no one had ever seen anything like that. That was so advanced at that time. Like, we couldn't believe it. And then it was such an impactful moment that like parody films were made over and over and over again, recreating that scene. Right. But I said, like, that movie changed film. It was the first time that CGI was used in a way, and actually cinematography, because bullet time was not CGI, but it was used in a way where it was like, wow, this is believable. Like, I don't remember movies before that being believable. But what pissed me off about the original trilogy was the end of the second film, Revolutions, right? Revolutions.
Revolutions
was the third one, wasn't it?
I don't remember. I don't know. Resurrections is this one.
That's this one. Revolutions, and then the Reloaded. Reloaded was the second one. Clever name. But I always was upset with the architect scene. I like the idea of the architect, but I always hated that the end of the second movie pretty much erases everything that happens in the first two movies. Like, oh, this didn't matter. The only thing that matters is the third movie.
Yeah.
And it's like there was no way they were ever going to top the first movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this fourth movie answers the question again. Yeah, you're right. It's a 20-year-old question. Where did Neo go? What did they do with Neo?
Yeah.
They answer it. They empower Trinity finally the way she needed to be empowered. At the end of the film, she is actually the more powerful one, which is awesome.
Yeah, you could say in this Matrix, she is the one.
Right.
Actually.
Right. She is the one, right? She's the key. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And then it ends in a wonderful way that, again, like traditional films, Ray, you feel good at the end. You don't have to make another one. It's just everybody lived happily ever after. That's how it needed to. They even gave the machines a sob story in this. Like, oh no, they're working together. Look at the cute machine pets that we have.
Yeah, there was a machine civil war.
Right. Yeah, I did like that scene, by the way, with Jada Pinkett Smith. I did enjoy that she came back. There was a machine civil war. Like, no, we can all get along. That's all. We don't need to go anywhere else in the Matrix. We've accomplished it. I don't need to know what happens now. They live happily ever after. Let him do Constantine again. Put him in the MCU. That would be fun.
Yes, that's what he wants. He's mentioned he wants to do Constantine.
A multiverse.
I will also say
bring
this.
him in.
Yeah,
there's Mephisto.
Yeah, there you go. I will also say I will also say this real quickly. And give me another Animatrix with the robot.
God, how good was that?
That's what I want.
By the way, if you guys
Animatrix,
dark ass Matrix
with the robot Civil War, that's a spinoff that I could get behind.
The Animatrix, for those who don't know, came out I think sometime between Matrix 2 and 3, and basically was an anime of kind of the history of what led up to the Matrix being created, and even some of the characters in the Matrix 3 were based off of that. But the episode Ray's talking about, where they show how the machines come to power, is one of the darkest animes I've ever seen, and it's freaking brutal. I mean, it's rated R, like people getting ripped apart and stuff. It's just was brilliantly done, and I remember watching that and not feeling good for a week afterwards. like it affected me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you check that out, the Animatrix of how the machines rise to power, and they kind of reference that in this film a little bit with Neo and Trinity, like when they're experimenting on their bodies and stuff like that. I was like, wow, they really went there with this. So it was well done, and I enjoyed it. I recommend it to everybody. It's not Spider-Man 3. It's not an MCU film.
Yeah.
It's actually very much a Matrix film, but it's quite good.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree. It was definitely, I think, better than I went in with low expectations, admittedly. And again, like you, I'm perfectly happy that I watched it on HBO Max. I don't think you need to see this in theaters.
I didn't
feel but it was good.
Yeah.
No. But you mentioned multiverses, you mentioned Constantine, you mentioned DC. That leads us, of course, now couple of things. Speaking of HBO Max and streaming services,
right?
Couple of things. We got a new Batman trailer, and HBO also announced that I think it's April 8th or April 1st, maybe, but exactly 45 days after its release in theater, the Batman will be on HBO Max.
Right.
They are waiting the absolute minimum amount of time before bringing that to streaming services now with the new agreement, because I think they especially saw this with Matrix. They realized that it's probably Darkstroke said day one. No, for those of you who don't know, starting this year, deals were made between the movie studios and the movie theaters that there now has to be a 45-day window for movie theaters. But now you're going to start, and I'm not sure how long this agreement is in place for, but you're starting to see a lot of companies now already start to get antsy and basically are like, okay, well then day 46, our movies will be on our streaming services, because I think you've really seen, especially in the 6 months since that deal was signed, we've been saying it all along. Streaming services are the way of the future. And even HBO and Warner Brothers are basically like, yeah, especially with the Matrix, and with possibly another rise in COVID, we don't need the theaters anymore. We're gonna adhere to our agreement because we signed a contract. But day 46, Batman's going to HBO Max. So if you all can wait a month and a half, and I think yours truly is going to wait a month and a half and wait for this to hit HBO Max, because I am still not on board with this new Batman even after this new trailer.
I don't know. Here's the deal. There's a little bit of the business. Here's a little bit of the business behind why it wasn't 45 days. The reason it wasn't 45 days before is because some of the smaller theaters in rural places wouldn't get films for months after the release, right? So I remember this when I was a kid. The small theater in my town wouldn't get the day one release of the big film. You'd have to wait a few months. Most of those theaters are gone now. All right.
Yes.
The other thing too is that like the shelf life of a film now is not what it used to be. Like we're not. Are we even 45 days past Spider-Man? I don't even think so. I think we're like 30 days.
No, not yet. We're getting there. But Ghostbusters,
everyone's seen it.
Ghostbusters is on digital now, and it's still in theaters today. At the same time.
So, but my point is like it hasn't even been a month, I think, since Spider-Man. I think it's been 3 weeks since Spider-Man came out.
Right.
Everyone's seen it. Like, and it's spoiled if you haven't seen it. There's no way it's not.
Yeah.
So my point is like we don't need to be in theaters for 4 months anymore. All right. The new Bat and Cat trailer was pretty good. I'm intrigued. I'm still intrigued about this film to see where it goes. I'm not expecting much. Like we'll see. Like I said, we haven't had a year 2 Batman before, which I'm excited about. And they did. I did read the other day that they're basing this Batman on Kurt Cobain in the early 90s. I'm like, okay, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
Whatever.
He's emo.
Yeah,
about it.
like.
But we'll see where this goes and what happens and how it does. But Ray, are you going to see it in the theater or are you going to wait?
I'm hesitant. I really might just wait for it because I'm not sold on this version of Batman. I'm not. And now that I know that it's going to be exactly 45 days. I mean, I still haven't seen Eternals yet. I'm still waiting for that to hit Disney Plus. I almost made it for Shang-Chi. I'm like, I can probably wait 45 days. Yes, I can probably do it.
For those of you who don't know, Batman is Ray's favorite character. So that is saying a lot. The other thing too is that Eternals, like I said, you just didn't miss much there. There's like 3 things that happen. You're like, oh,
yeah. Okay. Then I'm sure it'll be on Disney Plus before Doctor Strange too.
It will be.
So
there's no connection to Doctor Strange that I can see on the surface of that film either. Like you said, there's no connection in that film to anything that we know is coming. Let me rephrase that. There's a connection to things we know is coming in the far future. And it's a minor connection, and it's a post-credit scene. 2 of them. Both. This is what I'll say about Eternals. I won't spoil it for you. Both post-credit scenes definitely affect the far future of the MCU. I can see where, but the film itself didn't explain much, right? It didn't explain much. Then but I could see how it might in the future.
Yeah, so it's gonna be so there you go. But yeah, like I am of the mind where Spider-Man was an exception. Ghostbusters was an exception for me.
Right.
I don't think Batman's going to be the Batman's going to be an exception. We'll find
out if it comes out and people are like, you have to see this. Then I just don't think that's going to
happen. I mean, I could cave under the pressure if it's that good, but I
don't think that's going to happen.
Right now, I'm thinking I'm going to wait the 45 days.
Yeah. Like I said, unless like if the first reviews are like something happens to this film, it's going to change everything and you got to see it. That might change my opinion, but we'll see.
Right. So, some things that happened that might change everything. We're moving on to Cobra Kai.
Quiet.
So again, spoiler alerts all around, because that's only been out for 96 hours now, about 4 days. So but Cobra Kai season 4 dropped. If you're like me, I watched it over the course of 2 days. Our buddy Ray's here. What's up, buddy? He's hashtag Team Tory.
There you go.
There's a lot that happened this season. A lot of characters who are being redeemed. A lot of characters who are changing. They're coming around to certain ideas. There was a lot of interesting things that happened. We got Sensei, got Team Dimitri. It was a really interesting season. A lot of new characters introduced. Finally, Anthony, of course, Daniel's son is starting to become a bigger character and kind of funny and kind of also a little predictable. He's kind of a bully. He's kind of a jerk.
I gotta give that kid credit. He's not a bad actor. Like I remember like about his third or fourth episode, and I was like, this kid's acting pretty good. Like, he's doing a good job, like convincing that he's a little jerk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, okay. He's young, so I just want to say that whoever plays Daniel's son, he did a good job. I thought it was good acting.
Yeah.
Some of the teen actors, like the high school actors, they're a little extra. They're all getting better at fake karate, though.
Yeah, I mean, give it credit where it's due. All that choreography, a lot of those kids did it themselves, and it was some complex choreography.
Right. I was kind of fighting in this season was a lot better than previous seasons. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, for sure.
I noticed that. I was like, the fighting in the previous season, I was like, all right, this is super fake.
Yeah. This season also tied up a lot of loose ends. We had a lot of characters from previous seasons make triumphant returns or not so triumphant returns, or at least had their arcs closed. Aisha made a brief appearance. We kind of got the conclusion of her story. Stingray returns towards the end, and it looks like he's going to be a big character in season 5.
I like what they did there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I like how they arced him into like this he'll do anything kind of character. That was
anything
well
for Cobra Kai.
Yeah. In fact, when that scene was playing out, Ray, like I said, you knew where it was going. I remember thinking like, oh, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, no, they did a really, really good job. And what's up, Cotter? What's up, Ray? A few folks popping in here to chat. But yeah, it's been and Sensei says Stingray isn't surviving his injury. Stingray's got to testify against spoilers. Stingray has to testify against John Kreese, because the conclusion of the season is that Silver becomes the biggest snake of them all, turns on Kreese, sets him up for assault and attempted murder to get Kreese out of the picture, as Silver now takes over Cobra Kai and is going to spread it across the valley.
How did you think they handled Silver?
It was great. They did a great... it was kind of interesting because he had such a drastic change mid-season.
I love
and
it.
Then you realized, and then at the end you realized why, is because he became super loyal to Kreese after being super hesitant, and it was all a setup, and it was brilliantly freaking done.
My favorite moment of this season by far. So the best part of Cobra Kai, this has been since season 1, since it was on YouTube. This is how genius this show is. It's always slightly self-aware. So it knows how ridiculous the 80s were. I laughed. I had to pause. I was laughing so hard. My favorite part of the season was when Silver's explaining the 80s. He's like, well, I was hopped up on cocaine and I terrorized a teenager. And I was money hungry. I did crazy. And then there's this montage of how crazy he was in the third movie. I was like, that was such a good explanation. And it's like, yeah, it made sense. He's like, I was so hopped up on cocaine. I was like, this is so good. This is so good.
Clean myself up, all this other stuff. No, Ray mentions that Silver must live in Orange County. Orange or Ventura, Ray, because the cops in LA don't usually.
That was funny as hell. Right? I died at how I love how it plays itself off. Like, and that wasn't the only scene this season. The other thing I really admired about this season, and like this show has continually subconsciously tackled some major issues about parents and sport. And it totally did this season about that, Daniel and Johnny are so set in their ways. They just cannot break it. And this is a major problem with parenting. And I'm a parent. So I experienced this on my own sides too, but that they cannot see past their own ideology. And the kids are the ones that are going to have to change that. And it shows the positive and negative effects. Obviously, positive effect is the kids say, like, we are combining styles. We're going to expand the garden. We're going to make this our home. Negative effects, they turned his daughter into a jerk. And they made you feel sympathy for Tori, which was, again, great character development. But the kids are the ones who are suffering because of the adults, which is exactly what happens in real life, which I really appreciated.
I mean, there's a whole thing there with Tori kind of getting redeemed, Robbie kind of getting redeemed. Again, Tori kind of getting redeemed by Amanda, Sam's mom, Daniel's wife. Right. There's even a point where she gets a little bit of a convenient backstory where she kind of draws a parallel to her childhood to Tori. And you kind of, again, like you said, you start to feel even more so for these characters because we know as the audience that Tori doesn't have it easy, right? And that's part of the reason why she's lashing out so much and all this other stuff. But then, like, for the characters in the show to realize it and to see how they react, that's where the drama comes, and that's where it really becomes very entertaining.
But they're diving into other big stories, like when Miguel gets hurt in episode how many episodes was 10? Or 8?
10. So episode 9, he gets hurt.
When he gets hurt, like it makes a good point. This doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? And it's like. I think I've said this to you before, Ray. Like people look at this, this show is ridiculous. This is so much more realistic than people think about how parents control their kids, and then they even dive into poor kids versus rich kids. It was, which is the original film did that too, by the way. So I think it's just really well done, and this show's ability to turn villains into heroes and heroes into villains, and it's just such a web. It's a horrible web of everything. It's just so beautifully well done. It's like a soap opera. Sensei Solo says Kyler's still sexy. Kyler's by far now the most annoying character in the entire film. And
Kyler is really the only one-note character, I think, in the show. Like he has just been a jerk the whole time.
But that's how good of an actor he is. That he can make you hate him, right? But I wasn't upset with how the season ended. This is a major spoiler, but obviously Cobra Kai wins the tournament. And it means that
which once we knew season 5 was coming was kind of predictable.
We said that, but it means Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang have to close down. So the show ends with Daniel at Miyagi's grave, basically saying, I did it your way and it didn't work. And then Chosen shows up and he asked Chosen to help him take over the valley. I said this before, I am a little disappointed that Hilary Swank was not incorporated somehow.
I agree. I still think she could show up in season 5, though.
Well, we don't know who Tori's mother is, right? I doubt it's her. That would be.
I don't think it's her either.
Yeah, but I was kind of hoping when he looked up at the end if Hilary Swank, she was there, and people, the questions would be, how does he know her? Or I mean, you could have chosen there too, but it's doubtful if they decide to revisit the next Karate Kid, which they might not, to be fair, but if they decide to revisit that. There's no way in hell Daniel doesn't know who she is. There's no way Miyagi just conveniently never told him about it. Right?
Exactly. Especially because we know Miyagi and Daniel were close right up until Miyagi's past.
Right. And he references Daniel in that film. Right. So I remember it. But again, they might not ever go there. But I think it's a mistake. You have an Oscar-winning actress. You could,
if you can get Carrie Underwood, you can get Hilary Swank for
Well, here's the other thing too, is that it would actually add meaning to that film because that film's so disconnected, right? But I was hoping he would look up and she'd be there, and then that would just be such an awesome, like, wow, okay, like the Karate Kids are coming together, I'm not disappointed in Chosen. I was just like, oh, that's Chosen.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that it was Chosen because, like you said, I was expecting somebody else. Once you realize he wasn't just talking to the gravestone, right. I was like, there's got to be somebody else there. And then I didn't think it was going to be.
Did you think it would be Hillary Swank? Did you want it to be her?
I was hoping.
Yeah,
I was hoping because Silver also mentions that he's going to call on reinforcements, right. And that immediately makes me think of Mike. He's going to call him Barnes.
That'd be funny as hell. Yeah.
Like I think Barnes has to be part of season 5, and he has to be the head to one of the new franchises. Like to me, that's right. The way you got to go.
Right.
Right. So it's going to be.
I don't know how this is going to end. I do think the logical ending would be that all 3 dojos close. And that there's something new is created. And like that's where I see this going, is that like these guys are so set in their ways that they're ruining anything. And it's where The Last Jedi should have gone. I've always said this. I wanted that trilogy to end with the Jedi actually being gone. Right. And that a new form of Force user was created. That would have been logical.
The gray Jedis become
the gray, whatever you want to call them. But that the Jedi and the Sith are both gone and a new Force presence is there. I know it's a great idea, people. They don't let me write for Star Wars. All right. But like that would, one day maybe I will. But like that would have been a cool ending and very open-ended, and it could have expanded the universe. But of course we can't do that because we're Disney. But I think that's what's going to happen here. But yeah, I this needs to end after next season because there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah, I think season 5 should be the finale. I mean, but again, you got a lot of stuff that you're going to have to resolve now in 10 episodes next year, right? Kreese is possibly going to jail.
Is he going to be good? Is on the Are they going to make him good? Because they turned him soft at the end a tiny bit.
They did. He became softer. Yeah. He started to learn from his mistakes. Like he started to it was really interesting.
They established that he really does care about Johnny. And now you have this triple. Kreese was a horrible father to Johnny. Johnny was a horrible father to what's his name? You know,
Miguel, Robbie,
Robbie. Yeah. Like, so like I'm saying you have this father problem. So maybe it is Star Wars.
Yeah. Maybe Sensei mentions they're planning for 6. Ralph Macchio said that the original plan was for 6. Just because that was the original plan doesn't mean that's still the plan.
Yeah.
Again, we don't know anything for sure.
Yeah.
Unless there's something else that I haven't
Ghost
heard.
Miyagi. Do it. Do it, Netflix.
No more Force Ghosts. No more Force Ghosts.
By the way, the second favorite scene from that entire season. Second favorite. The first is the Terry Silver explanation. That I was really dying. The second favorite is when he's fighting all the hockey players, which I thought was hilarious. How they made them this stupid goon hockey player, which I thought was funny because it's the 80s, kind of like callback there. And then goes, he's got to use Eagle Fang karate to beat them. And obviously Johnny comes back. I love it. He goes, "Where were you?" And he goes, "No, not be no there." Right? Like he says to me, like, "I'm not there." That made me laugh.
Which also, by the way, I loved it when he first mentions that, and like Johnny's like, "This guy taught you every life lesson you know, and all this karate, and you couldn't help him learn some decent English."
Right. Yeah, it's the Yoda version of it, right? No, be there. I thought that was really well done. With a pretzel, by the way. That was brilliant.
So you're right. It is kind of like Star Wars.
It's Star Wars. Yeah, you got Yoda, you got horrible.
Yeah, and Ray mentions in chat another good thing is that it's true. So it's tough with kid characters. A lot of these kids, they're in their early 20s, early to mid 20s now, and it's starting to show a little bit. It is hard to keep a series going this long.
Miguel has matured a lot.
Miguel looks. I mean, he's beefing up for that Jamie Reyes Blue Beetle show that he's going to be doing, or movies.
And Robbie still looks like a kid, but he looks ripped. And then like Tori never looked like she was in high school.
No.
Right. So, but what's funny is, it's been cool to see some of the like nerdier younger kids are getting a lot bigger. I like what they did with Hawk actually this season. That was cool to see Hawk kind of come down and him and Eli be friends again.
Yeah, Hawk got humbled, and Hawk had a real kind of revolution, and kind of really learned. He kind of came back around, and him and Dimitri really kind of rekindled their friendship, which is a great he got redeemed in a lot of ways. And Ray mentions it. Yeah, when I first saw Tori, I'm like, I didn't think it could be Tori's new job. I'm like, there's no way they would do that because she's supposed to be playing like a 17-year-old.
Yeah,
but it was a weird setup, and then it was all and I was like, okay, it's a princess party.
But that's what this show does so well. Like it just it's a web, and then it's self-aware, and then the pitch and roll is so good in this show.
Yeah.
I just really appreciated that. I'm glid they didn't dive too much into the dealership again. I was getting tired of that storyline.
Like the dealership was there just a little bit. By the way, I didn't realize this. Ralph Macchio's daughter is the girl who does the psych test. Right. That's his daughter actually who's playing.
I love that scene too. Like, this is the test.
Yes.
It's well done.
Yeah, no, they were really sharp with that.
Yeah.
They did a good job.
I love that they referenced Marissa Tomei.
It was predictable. It was somewhat predictable, but all in all, it was very good and very entertaining, very good to watch.
I love that they referenced Marissa Tomei, and that she basically is from My Cousin Vinny. Again, the show is super self-aware. That's what makes it so charming.
Yes.
The issue, I actually wish they wouldn't release all of them at once, to be honest with you. I do binge it. Like, I usually get it done within 48 hours, but like, kind of wish actually they'd spread it out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I watched 5 one day, I watched the next 5 the next. Like, it's it's interesting. And Ray also mentions Thomas Ian Griffith is actually younger than Ralph Macchio. It's true, but when you have that much gray hair, it makes you look much older.
It's true. Yeah,
silver is silver now. So.
And I also, the sensei says Daniel.
He's also a big dude.
Daniel turning into a young
John. They both again they showed their influences on each other.
It was brilliant
over the course of the season, which was great, right? And then of course there's also the whole thing about Silver cheating to win, right? The ref had 2 missed calls. The ref had 2 missed calls in that final match that would have given it to Sam. The out of bounds call, and then the point deduction call that he didn't make. And then obviously we're just interested to see how that all pays off. Since I mentioned, Silver is very dangerous. He's the best fighter in the show probably at this point.
Well, Chosen and Silver. Chosen is like I said, if you look at the entire history here, we got to remember Johnny's pretty good. He's just older, right? He's a drunk. So like
Johnny also got sucker punched. I mean, sucker kicked, but sucker
Chosen
punched,
is up there. Chosen was always really good. And remember, Chosen doesn't just know Miyagi-Do. I mean, he's aggressive. Right? If you watch Karate Kid 2, he attacks.
Yeah.
So and it was interesting to see him come back. That's not what I was expecting. But look, delightful, wonderful, 5 hours television. Well done.
Yeah, that's it. It was only 5 hours. That's the thing. They're only 30, maybe 5.5. They're 30 to 40 minutes. There's only one episode, I think, that was only like 29. Everything else was 32 to 38 or whatever. But
they did a good job.
The great job. So moving on now, a lot of movie talk, a lot of video, a lot of movie talk, a lot of TV talk. We're moving now into video games. Again, a big show today. We got a lot to catch up on because of the new year. We went on a break. Real quick, very interesting thing. Bodeo Game Workers. This was a very interesting story that I wanted to talk about. They are an indie company, and they are officially, they might be a footnote in history, but they are a note. I think a lot of companies are going to start going this way. They are the first video game company to unionize. They have joined the Communication Workers of America union, and I think this is something that's been needed for a long time in the video game industry, and hopefully this starts opening the doors for a lot of other companies. Again, we've seen a lot of turmoil from Activision, from Activision Blizzard, from Ubisoft, from a lot of companies and publishers over the last couple of years. A lot of people speaking out, a lot of people talking about the evils of crunch. How do you fix that? You need to unionize. And again, even though even though I hate the baseball union, unions in general I enjoy and think are good. And I think this is a good thing for video games. And so I think this is a great thing to see, and hopefully this is the start of again, Bodeo Game Workers are a small company. I think they're only like a dozen people, but the fact that they joined the Communication Workers of America union, and again, all the voice actors have unions, which is why sometimes games get delayed, because if SAG-AFTRA goes on strike, there's no voice actors to perform in video games. It's time that a lot of these other people, like, again, we have producers, we have directors, we have writers in the games industry. Join whatever union you want, but it is time to unionize, and this is a good first step.
Yeah, I think with the problems that the gaming industry has gone through over the last 3 years, this is the next mature step. Unions can be very bad too, as you said, but obviously the gaming industry is not mature enough to handle itself with the law, for lack of a better word. So I think this is an appropriate step to mature the industry a little bit, and to make it safe for women, to be honest with you. All right. It's
yeah. I mean, and that's a good point. I mean, that brings up another story. Riot just paid $100 million in their sexual harassment class action lawsuit, their sexual discrimination class action lawsuit, I should say, with all the women there at Riot Games who have worked there and currently working there. And Riot had to pay it $100 million. Like, there's obviously problems within the games industry. There's problems in a lot of industries. A union would help, and I think it's probably time. So, and good on the women for getting $100 million from those scumbags at Riot. So,
I agree with you.
Yeah. Other things. I mean, again, speaking about women in games, a esports commentator, Thorin, freaking out over. Funny enough, they did this in Cobra Kai, where they split up the men and women's tournament. So you have a men's tournament and women's tournament. CSGO, Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, one of the biggest esports in the world. Of course, the sequel to the great old game Counter-Strike. They're doing a women's tournament. They're breaking it up in a way to try to draw more women into the game. Because, again, video games, although that do appeal now to everyone more than they probably ever have, there is still a stigma that it's more like a boys thing than a girls thing. So in an attempt to try to get more women to come in and play, and they've created a women's esports tournament. And Thorin, as the typical scumbag that most esports commentators are, not all, but a lot of them, stuck his head up his butt on Twitter, said, I am esports, and basically criticized CSGO for how dare they do this, making himself look like the moron that he is. So, yeah. So, interesting times in the video game industry. This is
it's evolving.
Yes, slowly but surely and painfully. Another video game group, Embracer. They own Saber Interactive and a lot of other companies in Europe. They acquired Dark Horse. Also, speaking of Star Wars, Dark Horse, of course, used to do all the Star Wars comics.
They did a great job with them too. They did.
Yeah. So I don't know what Dark Horse even still has anymore. For them to have acquired them, but because again, for me, most of them, like Lee said, most of the stuff that we knew was Star Wars comics. But good on them. That's a big deal. Dark Horse was one of the biggest indies, probably right behind Image for a long time, where you have the big two, Marvel and DC, and then you had Image and Dark Horse and Boom and a few others. So it'll be interesting. Maybe it'll be the other way around, and maybe a lot of Embracer's properties will get turned into comics. Unlikely, but we'll see.
Yeah. Day to time on that one.
Yes. And then finally, before we get into I want to mention my games of the year, because I have, of course, made a list and got to do one again at EGM. Big announcement literally right before the show started. Sony at CES this year officially announced that the PlayStation VR 2. It is the sequel to their PlayStation VR headset that was for the PS4 and that works with the PS5. But this will be it'll be a higher resolution, more degrees of peripheral vision. It'll track your eye movement better. And with they feel that it's a good investment with the huge popularity increase since the release of Oculus 2 from Facebook and Oculus, or Meta, from Meta. It'd be interesting. Darkstroke asks, do we need another VR headset? That's a great question. I'm going to say yes. If Sony's willing to support it more. The first one got off to a great start. It had that great Iron Man game. They ended up getting Vader Immortal, which I didn't think was as good as some other people. But the Iron Man game was terrific. It had Moss. It had a few other good games. And then they kind of let it kind of taper off. Could this be maybe their next PS Vita, where it gets off to a strong start and the people who have it really love it, but it never really gains a foothold? Because Oculus right now is the headset. But they've also mentioned one cable. It's going to be like a plug and play, which is a big deal because right now, as I know, there are a lot of cables that go to the PlayStation VR headset. Right. So cutting it down to one cable, I think will be a big deal. And then again, higher fidelity, better motion, new controllers. I think they're called the PlayStation Sense controllers. No longer using your old PS Move controllers, which again was really just Sony trying to salvage technology that never took off as they were desperately trying to catch up to the Nintendo Wii in that generation with the PS3. Like the PS Move controllers, if you don't remember, was those controllers that looked like Wiimotes but with little glowing balls on the top of them, right. And they didn't do anything. They were the worst controllers ever until VR came out, and then I was like, okay, now these make sense. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say we do need this headset, but if it doesn't work, this is Sony's last foray, and then Oculus, I think, takes over and dominates the market. Right. Lee, any thoughts on the PSVR 2?
Yeah, what I like about it is that it's pushing the technology forward. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think PlayStation's the VR champion we need, but I think it pushes the normalcy of VR. I think it pushes the need for the technology. In my opinion, I actually think that people are going to go crazy, but Facebook is the future of that space. Or I should say Meta.
Yeah, with Oculus and stuff.
Yeah. So, but I like when the technology gets pushed forward. Again, like we had to go through a lot of smartphones before we got to the iPhone. Yeah. You know, there was Sidekick, there was Blackberry, there was all these, people coming out with smartphones, and iPhone perfected it. That will happen with this technology. Someone's going to get it right. Someone's going to get it to a point where it's like, wow, this is really good. Yeah. It might not be who you think. It might be Tesla, might be Apple. You never know. Look, Tesla's apparently, I don't know if you know this, right? Tesla's apparently very close to unveiling a phone.
Oh, wow.
We call it a phone, and it's going to have their biochip in it. So, like,
I was going to say, are we going to stick it in our heads? Is it going
to? There's a lot of talk about what this phone can do, and it's extremely advanced from an iPhone. Now, will people be comfortable with that? I don't know. But my point to you is that these technologies have to evolve. Like we were talking about this before the show, Ray, like Web 3.0 and NFTs. Like I can see where the web is going, and it's not going to be Facebook in its current form. That's why the jump to Meta and what they're building with the metaverse, they're actually going the right direction, Facebook, right? Like they're going to create a digital universe. So this is what I'm going to say. Are there, Ray, and I'll ask it to you, are there more people on Facebook or on PlayStation?
Facebook.
Right. Are there more people on Facebook or even Xbox? It's closer. All right. It's still Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say what helps Xbox is that obviously now Microsoft has such a connection to PCs.
Right.
So, but still Facebook.
But yeah, so this is my point. Microsoft is in this game. PlayStation's not in the game. Sony's not in this game. They suck. Right. Microsoft is in this game. Meta / Facebook is very much in this game. By the way, people are, Facebook's getting old. Facebook, Instagram, go through all, I mean, the WhatsApp, they have all these platforms, guys. It's not just Facebook, right? That's why I think it's them. And then again, look, Apple, Tesla, Netflix, we don't know how they're going to play into this. Ray and I have been predicting this for a while. The main companies, the Xbox, Microsoft, Xbox, PlayStation, there's a massive shift coming. Netflix is about to unleash video games.
Yeah.
All right. They're going to buy Sony. I just think that's going to happen. I think Sony will be absorbed in the future. You want a wild guess? All right. I think the predictions that we've made recently that I've changed slightly is we talked about the console wars. I do not believe there'll be another console in its current form. I think you'll buy a small little Xbox tiny box that you can download your games to.
Yeah, that'll plug into your TV. I mean, it'll plug directly into the back of your TV. Like,
I think Sony would be foolish to follow suit. I think Sony should sell their games division to someone moving forward. But I like the fact that they're doing the VR because it's going to push VR forward.
Right, and as we talk about, competition is good, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Here we go. This is my Tesla phone now.
There you go. You look like Locutus of Borg at this point.
Here we go.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to say this, guys. For anybody mocking or balking at NFTs and Web 3.0 and the metaverse, that is going to be reality within 10 years. So don't, like I said, I remember too when Web 2.0, when social media came around, people think, this is not going to last. It's a fad. No one's going to be on there. I bought Facebook stock at their IPO. People thought it was crazy. They had 1 billion people on their platform. It's a percentage of the population of the planet.
Yeah.
All right. Like a hefty percentage.
It's significant. And again, you mentioned even that they own WhatsApp now. WhatsApp is the primary way people communicate in a lot of international countries, a lot of other countries.
Again, look, what's interesting, Ray, is you want to talk about technology speeding up. We'll say that the PC, the personal computer, I'll even give it late 80s became somewhat of this is a thing now, right? It was really the 90s when it came to light. But PCs before social media, let's just say it's 1985 to 2005, right? I know Facebook came out in 2004. So that's what? That's 30 years right there. Is that 20 years? 20 years. 85, 95.
Yeah, 04, 20 years. Almost 20 years.
Right. Social media became popular in 2010.
I was going to say 10 years ago.
So it's been 10 years. Maybe. And now you're looking at Web 3.0. It's like we're right on track. Right. Yeah. And I don't know what comes after the metaverse. Honestly, it probably is chips in your brain at that point. But like
probably, but
like that's 20 years away.
Yeah. We'll get there.
I can't wait till we're 80. We're like, hey, you want to go out to the International Space Station this weekend?
Yeah.
a blue phallic flight going up there. You want to go? You don't fly Amazon? You don't fly Amazon? You want to? Okay. What do you want to do? SpaceX? We'll go SpaceX. It'll be SpaceX. Like Delta. Delta American. Oh, SpaceX or Amazon? I'll go SpaceX. All right.
Yeah.
Marco, well, you got to remember this episode. When we're doing episode 1000, we'll be talking about that.
Yeah. Also, you briefly mentioned Blackberry. It is official. As of today, Blackberry is officially dead.
Well, let's rephrase it. They are not offering network support any longer. Basically meaning that if you have a Blackberry, this is the end. My only friend, the end. Yeah.
But it's funny, you mentioned it. I actually, funny enough, because of that, I saw today the first Steve Jobs iPhone press conference.
Yeah.
Where he talked about removing the keyboard, going to a touch screen, and how big a deal that was. And how he's talking about, and he was joking around, of course, in the typical Steve Jobs fashion. He's like, so how are you going to interact with the screen? A stylus? No, a stylus is freaking stupid. We're not going to use a stylus. You're going to lose it. And just point your finger. Use your finger. The greatest pointer in the history of mankind.
Listen, I saw that live, and I think you remember this. I said, because we were young at the time, and I said, and people still tease me about this, I said I should invest in Apple because in 5 years, everyone's going to have that freaking phone. And it was one of my first predictions that 100% came to fruition. I didn't have any money to invest in the market at that time in my life, but like I realized at that point, I was like, wow, that was a good prediction, right? You could see it. I did the same thing with Facebook. I said, this is not a fad. That's why I did have a little bit of money and I did invest it at that time. I'm seeing this again with NFTs. I'm telling you this right now. The key with the NFT and the metaverse and crypto is that, and we talked about this, there's no oversight. The value is created by the creator of the token, the creator of the NFT. Yep. It's a Wild West place right now, but it gives you the power to create with no Facebook saying we own your audience. So I'm predicting again, it's not really a prediction. It's kind of obvious. That is the future. That is the space to watch. It's not a space to just wildly throw your money at. Okay. But it is a space to watch and learn about. Andrew, really very, very quickly, NFT stands for non-fungible token. The easiest way I can explain it to you is if someone creates a piece of art, you can buy that art using cryptocurrency. All right. And the idea is that art comes with some perks. So you own the artwork, but it also might mean you have a season ticket to something. Right. So, but if you don't know what it is, follow Gary Vaynerchuk or go online, just search what are NFTs. You'll find a wealth of information. This year, 2022 is going to be the explosion of that industry. All right. That's not a prediction.
It's cryptocurrency and NFTs are the future. Our buddy, again, Ray, Arpad TV. Follow him on Twitch if you guys get a chance, by the way, twitch.tv/Arpad TV. That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler.
It's a spoiler. And I'm telling you that what I can't predict.
By the way, we will sell the Geeks Who Like Sports logo as an NFT for $4 million right now.
That's not how that works at all, but that's okay. Not how that works. Look, actually, this is Geeks Who Like Sports, right? This is how an NFT could work. Ray, you're a Yankees fan. The New York Yankees might say, okay, we have 500 NFT season tickets. All right.
Right.
And you'll buy it with your crypto. And I don't know how much a season ticket the Yankees cost, but I'm just going to say it's $10,000 for making it easy right now. I don't think it's that much, but let's just say it's 10K, right. All right, or 1,000. Make it easy. It's $1,000 for the NFT. All right. And that NFT is you get a cool baseball card looking artwork and it's your season ticket. You just have to present that at the game and you get in. Well, this is what's cool. Right. The Yankees are good and their value goes up. Guess what? Your season ticket value goes up. And if you decide after 10 years you want to sell it, you can sell it for whatever crypto amount you want. You can bank it in, cash out, right? If the franchise goes south, goes to hell, it might not be worth as much, right? But you control it. You control what you sell it for. The Yankees have to keep it valuable, right? And then with also when you buy this NFT, you buy the season tickets, you get behind the scene access to Yankee Stadium. You get to meet a player once a year. But what would you pay for that? I'm not saying you, but people would pay a lot, right? And the more value the Yankees create, the more it's worth. The more cryptocurrency becomes mainstream, the more valuable it becomes. But again, for the Yankees, they control it, not MLB, not the federal government. That's a great example of how sports teams will probably do this. So I am telling people, if you're interested in what I'm talking about, learn. If you're young, learn about it. Learn about it now. Don't get caught with not knowing about it. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things develop here, especially again,
Ray, follow me.
Follow me, Ray. There's a lot of video. It's interesting. You have video game companies are very, very much divided on this. Right. You have some companies are very much against them. Some companies are very much for them. It's going to be very interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see how things go.
It's not the time to be against. You can't fight progress. It's coming. Blackberry, you want to talk about Blackberry? Famously said, I think when the iPad came out, famously said, like, that's going to be gone in a year. No one's going to use that. They if you can look up Blackberry, if you guys want to laugh, look up what Blackberry said about iPhones and Apple when it came out. They were just totally on the wrong side of history.
So set in their ways.
Yeah.
Totally so set in their ways. So speaking of set in their ways, I made myself I keep a game of the year list every year. Been doing it for a long time. Before I went to EGM, during EGM, after EGM, my good friends at EGM let me had me come on as a special guest columnist once again, because I'm not tooting my own horn here, folks, but there's nobody who plays more video games than me. That's a fact. That's just, there might be somebody out there.
How many did you play last year, Ray?
So I beat.
What was the official number?
I beat 69 video games.
That's hilarious.
Nice. Yeah. So I played more than that, but I beat 69 on the dot, December 31st. Trigger Happy Havoc, Danganronpa. The anniversary edition was my 69th game of the year. But yeah, I did, of course, a game of the year list as always. You can see the full descriptions over at egmnow.com. You can check out their game of the year stuff. My game of the year was also their game of the year. Surprise, surprise. And as an outlet, and of course, as an individual, my game of the year was Psychonauts 2, which of course is available on Xbox and PlayStation. It might be on Switch, but I know for sure Xbox and PlayStation. It's also part of Xbox Game Pass. As is the first one. I would recommend playing the first one if you have Game Pass. If you didn't play it and you only have a PlayStation, you can jump into 2. But if you have Game Pass, play the first one because it will only make the second one that much richer. Absolutely phenomenal. Great storytelling, great messages about mental health, the platforming, the characters, the writing, the graphics. It hit all the right notes, especially for somebody like me who grew up, really came of age gaming in the N64 generation. I think this is something that is a bit of a throwback, but in all the right ways. So Psychonauts 2 is my game of the year, narrowly beating out my number 2 game, which was Resident Evil Village, followed by Forza Horizon 5, another game on Xbox Game Pass. And then, of course, Tales of Arise, which a rare JRPG for me on the top 5 list, but it was that good because I 100%ed that game. Do you know how much time it takes to 100% the JRPG? And I still beat 68 other games this year. And then fifth and
Very
finally,
humble.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
I'm teasing you. Very humble. I've been playing Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm in chapter 5.
Nice. Yeah. You're almost a third of the way through the game. I think it starts to pick up.
Yeah, I'm playing it with Logan. So it's really fun though. Like the banter between the 4 of them is incredible.
Yeah, the writing is terrific.
It really is. It really is well done. I am enjoying that game. Guardians of the Galaxy, a lot of fun.
Yes. So there you go. That is my official top 5 games of the year. Lee, do you have a particular pick for game of the year or?
No, I don't play as much as you. I mean, look, I enjoyed Avengers for what it was worth. Right. Guardians is a lot of fun. I don't even know what other games I played this year, Ray. I think I played more the year before. So like, I'm really enjoying
Lee has a life. Lee has children.
I do have children. I've seen, some beat Breath of the Wild this year, but that wasn't a game from this year.
Right.
So it's I'm more invested in like the N64 catalog coming onto the Switch. You know what I mean? It's not that I have a life. I wish I could game more, to be honest with you. It's just it wasn't anything that catch my fancy this year, but Guardians is a ton of fun. I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah, I will say that's also a fair point. I will say overall, this was a weak year. A lot of stuff got delayed again because of COVID and all that stuff. But
understandably a weak year. Like what I love about Guardians, the music is phenomenal. I love the huddles. Like you come out of the huddles to some 80s music. For those who don't know, like I'm a big 80s rock music guy.
Yes.
So it's just super fun for me all around. You can't come out of a huddle and not want to kill everything. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah, no, it's terrific. It's absolutely amazing. And even the original music, the 80s styled original music they wrote for the game was terrific. They did a really great job. Credit to Square Enix for sure, 100%.
Especially after Avengers, like that's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, they really they bounced back. They bounced back, which a lot of folks once people heard it was Guardians, and once they like after what happened with Avengers, people were really worried. But Guardians, I think they learned a lot from Avengers, and Guardians, I think they knocked it out.
That's a good thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. So that's our geek section. This is a super, like we said, folks,
2 hour
long
geek
episode.
Section. Yeah. I'm excited to talk about football this week, Ray.
We got a lot to talk about with football. We are moving into sports now. We are going full steam ahead. We are on the cusp of the playoffs, folks. We're not even going to talk about games by games. All you need to know is that there's not much left to decide.
I gotta say it. I'm usually pretty humble. I completely predicted the NFC East correctly, and I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
I did. I went back, and this wasn't so much to check on what to prove anybody wrong, but I went back, Ray. I did. I went back and I listened to our NFL predictions. I said it. I said that we said Dallas will be at the top. We both agreed on that. And then there was a discussion about where the Eagles would land, and I said that if Jalen Hurts hits stride mid-season, they are a playoff team, I think, and if things go, and they totally did. I'm proud of myself. I predicted this. Yes. We both predicted that the Giants would be crap.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, I could have the rant for you this week, because I want to spare you, like just how poor the decision making has been of that team. It's disgraceful how that team is playing, and the fact that they're talking about bringing back your coach and
I can't.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I feel for you. That's all I'm going to say. And then the soon to not be Washington football team, February 2nd on the Today Show, will announce that their name is probably going to be the Washington Armada. That's my guess, which is not a bad name. That's my pick, Washington Armada. I don't think they're going to go with Maroons. That would be too funny. But the Washington Armada, I might be wrong, Ray. I'm just predicting.
Somebody said Washington Groundhogs because they're doing it on Groundhog Day.
Yeah, that's a Pennsylvania thing. Anyway, I predicted the NFCs correctly. I'm proud of my Eagles. I'm proud of the way they turned it around. If I may, real quick, the big thing that is amazing to me, and Nick Sirianni deserves a lot of credit, is what we were doing the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season wasn't working. I think we went 2-5 to start the season. That's 7 games, right? And like they were having Jalen Hurts just toss the ball a stupid amount. And then mid-season, they made a complete change. They cut his throws down by 50%. They started relying on other parts of our game, and the Eagles completely, except for one game against the Giants, completely executed the second half of the season and earned their ways in a playoff spot with a week to go. Funny enough, the whole team's on COVID protocol now, but I'm like, whatever. Now is the time to go on.
Yeah. Let them all rest before the playoffs because you're locked in. You are locked into the 7 seed. I don't think you can go upper, below, upper.
I think we can.
You could go to the 6. Actually,
we could move up one. Yeah, depending on what the 49ers.
You could go up to the 6 if the Niners lost and the Saints win and you win. You could move up to the 6.
Now we're playing the Cowboys on Saturday. And it is a nothing game, and like both teams are going to be resting most of their players at this point. In fact, I think the Eagles are on COVID.
The Cowboys, that the Cowboys could move up a couple spots, but the 1 seed in the NFC is locked up. It's the Packers. Congrats to the Pack.
Yeah, amazing season. I mean, really, look, I want to say it's kind of their Super Bowl to lose right now. I mean, you never know who's going to win the playoffs, but right, they're the best team in the NFL right now statistically, and they're playing well. So
I would say I still think the AFC, whoever comes out of the AFC dogfight, is going to probably be better prepared. I will say this just because also some of the Green Bay losses I think were against the AFC teams. I think Green Bay.
Let me rephrase it. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. You're right, but their road to the Super Bowl, they have the best.
Is easy.
Yeah,
they have a very easy. That is very true.
Compared
to anybody else in the NFC,
right?
No, the Packers are the team to beat. They should. I'm not going to be rooting for them because I can't believe when it says I would probably actually root for the Eagles more than I would the Packers.
Yeah.
Just because I really don't like it.
The Eagles are a long shot to even get past week 1, but or the first week, but no,
for sure you're going to be playing one of the division winners.
Playing the Bucks,
you're going to LA against the Rams
or
Dallas, which would be interesting,
or the Bucks,
or Tampa Bay to play the Bucks.
But look, I'm proud of the Eagles for making the playoffs. Jalen Hurts gets better every game, and it's the bright future scenario. Like if we don't win a game, or if we do win a game, it's like wow, amazing. Like no one's expecting a Super Bowl this year, but look in the NFC, the Green Bay and the Bucks look very strong, very very strong. And so do the Rams and the Cowboys. Like the top 4 teams look great. Any of those teams could get there.
Yeah, no, for sure, and Ray mentions in chat that Aaron Rodgers is a world-class moron. I think we agree on every front, but he mentioned specifically he thought Olivia Munn was marriage material. I'm not going to get into that. We're not. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is an idiot.
Who did you say? Olivia Munn?
Olivia Munn.
Don't you mean Gozer?
Gozer.
No, she wasn't. She was Olivia. That's Olivia. What's her name? That's another woman.
You're thinking Olivia Wilde. You're thinking
Olivia Wilde. Yeah, Olivia Munn is what's her name
from G4
from X-Men. I know.
Yes, Mystique and X-Men, or not Mystique. Psylocke. Psylocke.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Psylocke and X-Men.
Yes,
sorry.
And also in the she was also on the show. Attack of the Show, right? And then
yes, exactly, over at G4, correct.
Yes,
the old iteration.
The newsroom. She was on the newsroom.
She was a newsroom, right? She was the one who had that big blow up because she was with the I think it was the Korean foreign dignitary or whatever. Chinese or I don't remember.
She'll be Psylocke in my head for multiple reasons.
Yes,
Olivia Wilde,
but yeah,
Gozer.
Japanese. There he goes. Japanese foreign race. I haven't watched Newsroom in forever, folks.
Yeah, I stopped watching after it just became one-sided politically motivated. I was like, this is boring.
Right. So Newsroom's already I think 10 years old or something. I think it's old. Anyway,
it had one amazing scene. That was about it. It was all downhill after the opening scene.
Yeah. So in the NFC, the Packers are the 1 seed. The Cowboys, Bucks, and Rams could shuffle around, but those are probably going to be. There's a slim chance that the Cardinals could win the West, but it is highly unlikely. But it's going to probably be those 3 teams will shuffle around between the 2 and 4 seeds. Right. Then you'll have the Cardinals at 5. The only thing that's up for grabs is it's very simple, as we mentioned. If the Niners win, they're in. The Niners lose and the Saints win. The Eagles then move, I think, up to 6, and the Saints move into the 7 seed. Right. So that's the only question right now in the NFC. With Jimmy Garoppolo probably out for the rest of the year with a busted thumb. He'll have to have offseason thumb surgery. Trey Lance beat the Houston Texans last week. It'll be interesting to see if Niners even do make it. I don't think they're going to do any damage. But I honestly still think the team out of the lower seeds to watch out for is the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona destroyed, really manhandled Dallas this past week, and only just some poor management there, I think, at certain points of the game is the only reason why Dallas got back into it. Dallas is very much a Jekyll and Hyde team. Right. That offense can be great one week and terrible the other. Which one decides to show up could determine their playoff fate. Their defense remains solid, led by probably Defensive Rookie of the Year Micah Parsons. But I don't see Dallas going very far. And I'll say this again. If it's Arizona-Dallas round 1, I think Arizona repeats what they did last week. I think Arizona beats the Cowboys and moves on.
Yeah, well look, obviously any given Sunday, but
of course.
Look, the top 4 teams, the division winners, deserve to be contending for the NFC Championship game.
Yes.
Like anything else becomes like a miracle scenario. I'll throw Arizona in there too. Like they've earned their right to be in that conversation. But
right.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out.
For sure. It's going to be interesting. Again, certain teams just match up better against other teams.
Yeah, and next week's
where those cards fall.
That Eagles Cowboys game on Saturday is going to be a complete mess. It's just like
probably
like no starters. Just again, the team will be off COVID protocol by the game, but it's like, are they going to play guys who haven't practiced all week right before the playoffs? Probably not. I think you're going to see the Minshew dynasty on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense, especially after your Eagles got COVID after basically half the fan base at Fedex Field fell on top of them as Fedex Field collapsed, the tunnel collapsed.
Yeah, Jalen
thankfully nobody was hurt.
To Washington saying, "Are you going to fix this?" That was pretty cool. I was actually impressed. With you got to fix this because someone could have died. Idiots.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the thing is that it's been notorious that Fedex Field is one of the most poorly upkept stadiums in the NFL because Dan Snyder is a cheap bastard. He really bleep that.
Nobody likes him. But I don't know anybody that likes Dan Snyder. I don't know anybody that likes him.
No, he's a terrible owner. He's the James Dolan of the NFL.
Right.
It's that simple. He's a terrible owner. He's bad for the league. That's a death trap of a stadium. It's the East Coast Qualcomm, which is where the Chargers used to play. It's a joke. And good for Jalen Hurts. He's right. Somebody could have been hurt. They should be thankful that nobody was hurt, whether security, the people falling, Hurts himself. Exactly. Like they should be thankful. They should be counting their lucky stars. But the fact that literally the railing, again, look it up, folks, if you haven't seen it yet, that railing just collapsed under just like 3 dudes' weight. And it's like that shouldn't.
It wasn't crazy. It wasn't crazy.
Yeah. It wasn't and it's not like, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. So as usual, screw you, Dan Snyder.
That was like a 4 or 5 foot. No, it was like a 6 foot fall.
Yeah. And those guys fall flat in their face on top of a metal railing. Like that's not like, they're very lucky. And then Hurts, of course, everybody was good. Hurts was the only one. Hurts was the only one who checked on those guys. The Washington crew just turned away.
The Eagles fans like, oh, my arm's broken. Hold on. Selfie. Okay, thanks, Jim.
Yeah, no, for sure. So that was collapsing. Speaking of collapses, we're also going to get to the AFC real quick, but also collapsing. Jacksonville as an organization continues to collapse. We didn't even get to Urban Meyer getting fired already.
Yeah,
that happened while we were away.
I can comment on that if you want. I mean,
please do.
Yeah, here's the deal. So just to bring everybody up to speed, Urban Meyer. It is reported and probably accurately that he said to his assistant coaches they need to prove to him why they should be on the team, and that show them why they're winners and they're all losers except for him. It's a common problem in pro football with college coaches. This is the deal, ladies and gentlemen. When you're a college coach, you are somewhat of a god. Here's why. Your roster rotates every 3 to 4 years. You have a completely new roster. Okay. It's probably more like 2 to 3. So you never get old in the locker room. And when you're Urban Meyer or Nick Saban or whoever, you are a god because your message never gets old. You just continually rotate, get better, and you have a new message. Get to the NFL, the players are gods. And you can get old very, very quickly in a locker room. And we've seen this throughout the league. We saw it with Doug Peterson in Philadelphia. You're seeing it, obviously, with Urban Meyer. To treat your assistant coaches that poorly, to treat them less than human, is incredible to me as a coach. And you can say whatever you want. Lee, you're not an NFL coach. You never coached in the NFL. I coach coaches. I study this science. That is not how you coach in today's world. All right. It is everyone hands on deck. Everyone contributes. Everyone finds a way to win. The coaches that are winning are doing that. All right. Like again, Bill Belichick, you don't have any reports of him being an a-hole. In fact, his assistant coaches that leave say that he treated them wonderful.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know what the hell Urban Meyer was thinking. I don't like that it leaked. Like from a privacy standpoint, I think some things are left said in the locker room, but it's 2022. You can't do stuff like that and not have it leak out. So he deserved to be fired. He will most likely go back to college after that because no NFL team is going to hire him now. All right. And hopefully he learns his lesson. But Chip Kelly is another great example of this. Comes from Oregon, dismantles the Eagles, saying that that's what he wants. You're not a god in pro football. The players are gods, as we saw in Tampa Bay, which we'll talk about in a minute too. All right.
Yes.
I'm saying that very sarcastically. All right, but I don't know. It was despicable. I don't like reading things about coaches treating their staff like crap. It's not slavery. All right. It's a team. All right. And I just don't think modern coaching with modern mental fitness science, that doesn't make sense to me at all. Go back to college, Urban. See if you can get some semblance of respect back, because that was horrible.
Yeah. It's an absolute joke how he treated those guys. And it
At
just,
that level,
again,
too.
it's,
that level.
yeah, it's why a lot of,
idiot.
Yeah, it's why a lot of, like you said, it's why a lot of college coaches do not thrive in the NFL.
You are not a god.
It is what it is.
By the way, you're not a god in college either. You're just probably the highest paid employee of your state.
That is true. That is true. You are very highly paid if you are a college coach. That is for sure. Something I was looking at. I want to get we will get to this later.
Talk about Antonio Brown at some point.
Oh, we got to talk about Antonio Brown. We got playoffs still to talk about. We got a lot of stuff to cover still. The playoffs, yeah. Playoffs? Oh, we got lots of playoffs. Yeah. So, okay, I just wanted to confirm that. Sorry about that, folks.
No worries. Viewers here are really upset with you, Ray.
I know. I should have taken care of that earlier.
Both of them.
But this is what happens. See, we got a 2.5 hour show and everything's phone's blowing up.
I gotta go to bed.
But yeah, no. So, Urban Meyer, jerk. We're gonna get into some great coaches in a second.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Before we go any further, I do want to also mention the AFC playoff picture, and then we're going to get into other NFL news. The AFC playoff picture is very interesting after this past week. The Titans are back in the driver's seat for the 1 seed after the Chiefs lost to the Bengals. The Bengals, I mentioned defensive player of the year, probably Micah Parsons. To me, offensive player of the year is Jamar Chase, the wide receiver for the Bengals, who's almost at 1,500 receiving yards now. He had 266 against the Chiefs, had set all kinds of ridiculous records, 10 catches. I think he had 2 or 3 touchdowns. The kid is an absolute superstar, and the Bengals are a legitimately good team that will only get better, especially as they shore up their defense. But on offensive side of the ball, they are set with Burrow and Chase and Mixon at running back. That is a 3-headed monster that can beat possibly any team in the playoffs. And the AFC is really up for grabs right now.
Yeah.
If the Bills win against the Jets on Sunday, the Bills will win the division. If they lose and the Patriots win against the tough game against the Dolphins, the Patriots will win the division. Both teams are in the playoffs currently, however. I think the Bills will beat the Jets, going out on a limb there that the Bills will beat the Jets. But again, the Bills also did lose to the Jaguars early this year. They could lay an egg, but I believe that the Bills will handle their business and win the division. Again, the Bengals, with that win over the Chiefs, won the division, as the Ravens had this is one of the most epic collapses I've seen. A team that I think was 8-3. Now they've lost, I think, 5 in a row. They're 8-8. Part of it, Lamar Jackson was hurt, but they went for 2 on what game time touchdowns twice. They didn't get it either time. They've lost now 3 games out of those 5 games. They lost 3 of them by a single point. Wow. So that's a bit on the coach. That's definitely a bit on the players. It's definitely a bit on the coach for deciding to go for 2 all those times.
Right.
Yeah. And also the Steelers, although still mathematically alive, if the Colts win Sunday, the Colts win, they're in. That win also eliminates the Steelers and Ravens. And that means that the Sunday night game, which is a flex game, the Chargers and Raiders would be a play-in game for the 7 seed. They have identical records right now. That would be that's a huge matchup. That's exactly what the NFL wants. Obviously, last game of the season, regular season, whoever wins and in. Interestingly, if the Colts lose and the Raiders and Chargers tie, they both get in the playoffs and the Colts, Steelers, and Ravens go home. Folks are saying it would be the worst game ever, and it's not going to happen. But how funny would it be if the Colts lost to the Jaguars? Because that's who the Colts play the last game of the season. Again, I don't think it's going to happen. And then basically the Chargers and Raiders just take knees for 60 minutes so that they have a 0-0 tie.
Right.
And they both go into the playoffs by default.
That would be interesting.
I think the NFL would absolutely, Goodell would implode.
Well, it's his own doing if it happens.
Yes.
It won't happen.
It won't, but it would be interesting. Darkstroke asks if both the Bills and Patriots win. Bills win the division. Darkstroke, it's that simple. Bills win, they win the division. It's that simple. Doesn't matter what the Patriots do in that case. If both teams lose, the Bills, I believe, win the division. Bills have to lose, Patriots have to win for the Patriots to win the division. Otherwise, they're the 5 seed. And then, of course, the Chiefs now are actually vulnerable. Actually, that's not true. The Chiefs have also locked up their division. They're 2 games up on the Raiders and Chargers. But again, there's 3 teams, the Bengals, Chiefs, and Titans. The 1 seed in the AFC is still in play. Titans win. They're the 1 seed. Titans lose. And Bengals win. I believe the Bengals are the 1 seed. Titans lose, Bengals lose, and Chiefs win. I believe the Chiefs are the 1 seed because now the Bengals have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs because the Bengals just beat them this last Sunday on a terrific game. So the AFC, a lot more still to happen there. I'm going to say it right now, and I said it again earlier. Whoever wins the AFC, I think, is your Super Bowl champion because they will be battle tested. The AFC has a lot more parity right now than the NFC. And I think that it's going to be easy for the Packers not to kind of overlook their opponent in the Super Bowl if they do get there. But I do think that the AFC champion will have a harder road to hoe and therefore will be more ready to go, whether it is the Chiefs or the Titans, which to me are the 2 favorites. And then your dark horses, I think, are the Bills, the Colts, and the Bengals. And I will say this, I know people are going to be like, but they're the Patriots. I do not think the Patriots get out of the first round. I don't. I think that they got a young team. They have a good team, a talented team. That defense can win you games, but I don't think that they're ready. I think they're going to be really battle tested against a lot of opponents in the AFC playoffs. I don't think the Patriots get out of the first round. And I will also say, I think whoever wins Raiders Chargers doesn't get out of the first round. If I was a betting man, I'm picking the Chiefs, but that's
right.
Chiefs Packers rematch of Super Bowl 1.
That would be interesting. I'm not ready to make my Super Bowl prediction yet. I'll wait till after next week, but I will say that I think the AFC teams are going to beat the crap out of each other and weaken whoever is going to the Super Bowl. But I don't think that's going to make it easier for the NFC. I think it's going to be more evenly matched.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Anything can happen. Like you said earlier, Lee, any given Sunday. And Andrew
I think the Colts are going to play the Eagles. I think Carson Wentz will take on Jalen Hurts in a battle of who is a better quarterback. And can you imagine that happened? Colts Eagles in the lowest rated Super Bowl of all time.
I think actually that'd be fascinating to watch. But I will say, I think the Colts would destroy you. Honestly,
really, I don't know about that.
Oh yeah,
if we make it to the Super Bowl,
I'll say this: the only way you stay in the game is if Carson Wentz decides to have one of his 3 interception games. Well, but the Colts have a better defense. The Colts have a better running game. It's Wentz is the question mark. What Carson Wentz decides to show up in that game. But right. I think the hands down, and the same with Jalen Hurts. Which one shows up? Which one?
He has been good week after week after week. He really is improving at an incredible rate.
No, that's true. But he has laid a couple eggs this year, and who knows
for sure.
Under those lights what happens.
Carson.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's going to come down to quarterback play, and who knows what happens. But again, I don't think the Colts or Eagles are making this.
Let's do it. I would love to argue this for the Super Bowl.
Yes. No, it would be great. I'd be all for it. I honestly wouldn't mind seeing the Colts versus the Eagles.
I'm ready. Let's do it. That's Colts Eagles. Sold.
There we go. Put the fixes in. Come on, Goodell. Make it happen. But yeah, Andrew also mentions in chat, yes, and Darkstroke, yes, Tom Brady's the greatest. I agree. Tom Brady, there's no denying Tom Brady's records. Tom Brady probably going to pass for 5,000 yards, depending on how much he plays this week. Which, depending on what's on the line, he might not play a lot. He might not play a full game, but he's right there on the cusp of it. Look, there's no denying that even with him having an off year, he's thrown a lot of interceptions this year. He's still playing at an elite level. Like, there's no denying that. And again, depending on what Tom Brady decides to show up, I mean, it was Tom Brady's turnovers that almost had the Jets beat the Bucs this week, right? Like, if Brady doesn't turn the ball over, And same thing with the Saints when they lost 9-0. If Brady doesn't turn the ball over, you're probably not beating the Bucs. He only needs 10 yards. I didn't realize he was that close, Andrew. I thought he was like 100 yards away or so. But yeah, like Darkstroke said, he might play the opening drive then and get his 10 yards. And then I didn't realize it was that close. My apologies. Yes, he will break 5,000 yards then, probably. Unless, God forbid, he gets hit in the first play and he's knocked out of the game. But like, knock on wood.
We'll give it to him. He'll come back in just to throw 10 yards. And I'll tell you what, the other team will give it to him. Like, sorry, Mr. Brady. What do you mean, Mr. Brady?
Yeah. But there's a lot of other problems down there in Tampa. As the guy, I'm going to tell you right that the guy who's not going to catch that ball for 10 yards is Antonio Brown, who had the dude needs help. It's one of the most tragic. I've never seen a meltdown like that ever. And some folks are talking about CTE, and I get that CTE can't be diagnosed until after the person is deceased, at least at this point. But it is clear that dude's brain is scrambled eggs right now because he is just he took all his gear off in the middle of the game. He quit on his team. He threw his stuff into the crowd. He walked out of the Meadowlands. He got himself an Uber or a private driver or whatever, and he just started cruising around the city. And it's like,
I'm going to Nets games.
Yeah, like what? I don't know.
Yeah.
If the dude doesn't want to play football, then stop playing football and get the heck out of if that's all it is.
But he is done.
Well, yeah, he's done now. He's done for sure.
Not,
like nobody's going to take a flyer on him.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of different levels to this. I think the biggest takeaway from this is just how unprepared this country is once again to talk about the larger issue and the stigma surrounding mental fitness in general.
Yeah.
Different players are different rules when it comes to this. And there's levels to this too. So like, look, I'm not just pointing the finger and saying, oh, it's mental fitness. He's got mental issues. That's most likely true. There's also another side of this of accountability to your team, right? It is completely unacceptable to do what he did. So two things can be true. This man needs help. This man needs to see someone. There is something off. I'm not going to call it CTE. I don't know what it is, but something's off. It might just be an incredible narcissistic attitude. I don't know. I'm not him. I'm not in the locker room. I can tell you this. His teammates were very empathetic. They seem to be very understanding of that. This guy's going through something. He needs to get some help. Tom Brady's quotes was incredibly mature after the game. Like just like a true leader of like this. I hope this guy finds what he needs. Right. They didn't say like, can't believe he quit on the team. They didn't make it about him. They didn't buy into it. So he should not be given a free pass or anything because of mental health issues. It does need to be addressed that there's something there. And at the same time, we should also be having a larger conversation behind this is completely unacceptable from an accountability level to your team. It is not okay to do that. He is setting an example, a very, very poor example to just quit when you don't want it. There was mixed reactions from the announcers. I love what Michael Strahan did walking off set as a joke. It was kind of funny. It was kind of needed in that moment. It was uncomfortable. Right. And then another announcer said like these players don't love football like we did, which is not fair. Right. That is a great disrespect of football what Antonio Brown did. But again, look, like I said, I think about sports, Ray, and mental fitness. Carey Price, NHL, says I need mental fitness. I need a mental break. And most of the NHL, majority of the NHL is understandable, Carey. Take the time you need, whatever you need. Right. Simone Biles says I need it. She's a quitter. She's a disgrace to the country. Give me a break. It cannot be separate rules for separate people depending on the situation. The stigma has to change. Right. Antonio Brown needs to speak to someone. Right. It's his responsibility to do that. But the venom from people about him, which he deserves to some point. It's out of line. It's out of line. You should be more concerned. His teammates were concerned about him after the game. They were concerned. Right. I give the Bucs a lot of credit for coming back from that, beating the Jets, which totally is.
Yeah, I mean they seemed. A funny thing is they seemed to wake up after that happened.
Yeah, well, he incited them to win. There's also people saying like, oh, he's a few catches away from his bonus, and that they're not giving him the ball to try and save money.
There was that possibility. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. You're not in the locker room, guys, and neither am I. We're never going to know what actually happened. Right? Like the fact he's flying around New York, he's going to Nets games, he's very public right now. That just kind of makes me think this guy needs to talk to someone. Right? Something is off. CTE diagnosing.
There's also
without stop it. This is like that's WebMD stuff.
Right. And then there was also talks that he had rolled his ankle and he wanted to go back out there. They wouldn't put him back out there for that. And there was also the inverse that's saying he didn't want to go back out there. They wanted him to go back out there because he got the green light.
The point is
like,
this. A guy doesn't have a meltdown at the end of the season and end his NFL career on something like that. Okay, this is the culmination of a lot of stuff. The guy lost it. I hope he gets the help he needs. He clearly does. Because no one's rooting for him. Like, no one's on his side with this. And the thing is that, like, again, what kind of message are you sending to the youth? That it's okay to quit when you don't like it? Not a good message. It's not how the world works. All right. Because here's the truth. Antonio Brown's going to be fine the rest of his life financially, unless he blows all his money.
Yeah. As long as he did all right by his, financially, as long as he invested and took care of his money and stuff.
My biggest fear with this incident is it's going to be empowered. That's right. If you don't like it, just quit. And that's not a healthy attitude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes you have to quit some things, but you don't quit
quitting,
like that.
Right? Yeah, that's exactly. Right. That's what I'm saying. That's not the right way to do it.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but so there you go.
If you're being treated unfairly and you're being treated like crap, you should quit. But I just don't think for a second he's been treated unfairly. Considering
he's been given second, third, fourth, 12th
chance.
chances.
That's what I'm saying. This is not. If someone's treating you well, think twice. Before you quit.
I mean, this dude was on his way to a Hall of Fame career in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he is one of the top 10 all-time receptions in a season leaders. I think he's number 10. 9.
So, he's got all kinds of records, and it just
screwed up. He screwed up too many times. And again, I'm gonna say it again. It's like, you got to have some semblance of like seeing the other side of like, I'm sure from his position, he's being wronged or whatever. From his mindset, he's probably doing the right thing. But when someone's treating you well, you got to take a step back and say, wow, wait, maybe I need to take a minute here and think twice about this. And he didn't do that. And his teammates tried to stop him. There's shots you can see his teammates on the sideline like, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? You think he's the most pissed off? What about the fourth string, whatever, sitting on the bench the whole season, or the practice squad?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't like that kind of stuff. So I hope he finds the help he needs. I hope that there's an understanding of accountability. It is very disgraceful to the game. I'm not talking the NFL, to the game.
Yeah.
Head on the XFL 1 year from yesterday. Let's go.
There we go. Two last football stories. It was a very sad week for football in terms of we've lost a couple of great guys. We'll start with the first one. Dan Reeves needs to be mentioned. Was, aside from Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, Dan Reeves has been to the third most Super Bowls in history as a player and as a coach. He won Super Bowl 6 with the Cowboys, excuse me. And then of course also led the Falcons to a Super Bowl. He led the Broncos to several Super Bowls, although he never won. Those were those Bronco teams, with the early Bronco teams with John Elway. He also had a terrible stint with the New York Giants, but overall he was a good coach and a good man, and obviously a great ambassador for football. And he passed, but not to just kind of push that to the side, but obviously the greatest ambassador to the game of football was what we lost shortly after Christmas. And I said it on Twitter and I'll say it again. It's just, I think probably his family, his friends. I know as a fan, I'm thankful he got his flowers before he passed. Of course, I'm talking about the All Madden documentary that Fox put out on Christmas, and he watched it. An hour and a half documentary. If you haven't seen it yet, I think it might be on demand at this point, but it's been shown again on FS1. I think ESPN even showed it at one point as the pay tribute. John Madden is synonymous with football. If you're anybody under the age of 80, basically,
right.
He from the video game to his broadcasting to his Hall of Fame coaching career. He led the Raiders to their first Super Bowl in Super Bowl 11. Still the winningest coach in terms of win percentage with minimum 100 wins in NFL history. He won 3 out of every 4 games his team played. His love of the game, his love of American football and American culture, and seeing the country on his bus every year and going from stadium to stadium. His friendship with Pat Summerall, what he did for broadcasting, he immediately legitimized Fox Sports when he left CBS to go there with Pat. How he, his revolutionary work with Telestrator, which is now something we can't imagine sports not being done with a Telestrator. He was the first who pioneered it because he wanted to show people how to play the game in a way that only he could, and along with his own, personal style of color commentary. Boom, And then again, also the video game, which again got open football up to a whole other generation of people. I learned most of football through Madden, the video game. I know football because of that, even more than watching him on television. And what he's meant to be able to permeate a sport in so many different facets and to affect so many generations of fans firsthand. There will never be another John Madden. There will never be anybody better than him at the game at it in terms of in whatever aspect, video games, as an ambassador, as a broadcaster, as a coach. He was simply the best, and everybody who met him and who interacted with him can only sing his praises. And my only great regrets is that I never got to meet the man. But again, how he indirectly affected my life, watching him every Sunday, playing the games every other day of the week. It's unbelievable. And Andrew, no offense to Don Cherry, but I think you're off the mark. I think John Madden is a million times bigger than Don Cherry. Like, not to take anything away from Don Cherry, but I don't think there's anybody in any sport Andrew on says, Madden's level.
Yeah, John Madden is the Don Cherry of the NFL. It's quite the opposite. It's Don Cherry is the Madden of the NHL. That's how you would say that.
Yeah, and even that, like it's yeah, Andrew. But again,
it's a fair comparison.
Just maybe coaching or anything, maybe, but like I don't like. Again, there's nobody else.
I mean, Madden won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's the other difference is Madden actually won.
So, Madden's in a league of his own. Don Cherry also, didn't finish his career the way he wanted to. Madden finished exactly the way he wanted to. Actually, Madden retired after
just a couple years after winning that Super Bowl because of stress.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, he retired from broadcasting after Harry Callis died. Harry Callis died in the booth, and that's when Madden realized I don't want that to happen to me. So he retired. That was 10 years ago. But look, iconic. Look, there's no Don Cherry NHL hockey games, so Madden has permeated the sport on every possible level, from coaching to broadcasting to gaming. And look, the impact alone from the games to bring people into the sport. Ray's right. I don't believe that's ever going to happen again. And Don Cherry had his place in hockey, but unfortunately, just I don't want to say the game outgrew him. I don't think that's fair, but I think woke culture outgrew him, which I'm not ecstatic about, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean it's. Yeah, no, I mean, look, I don't want to really talk anymore about Don Cherry. This isn't about Don Cherry, honestly.
John Madden is a legend, and legends never die. That is what I'll say.
Yeah, that's it. And again, I think there will never be anybody like him. I don't think there's anybody who compares to him. And again, not just, not even just football games, but sports games in general.
Sports, period. Sports.
Yeah.
He's not an American sports fan who does not know who John Madden is.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
I mean, it was a sad day for sure for football fans everywhere. And I think that, our hearts go out to those closest to him, his friends and family, those who actually knew him, because I know as a fan, I am grieving. So, So
we should also mention real quick, we didn't do this in the geek segment, but Betty White, obviously we should mention her too.
Yes, we should mention Betty, of course, passing at 99.
Great life, great person.
Amazing, revolutionary actress and advocate.
Her and Madden are having a dance in heaven right now. I'll put it that.
probably that'd be interesting. They're probably having a good old time. Yeah.
Anyway, boom. All right.
So yeah. So moving on now from professional football quickly to college, just a little bit. The playoffs are going on. No surprise, Georgia versus Alabama will be facing off for the national championship because the SEC is basically OP at this point, and there's no point in watching
Alabama
any other college football.
And once again, Nick Saban will win. That's how that's going to go.
Yeah, it's there's no point in watching college football anymore. Honestly, just give Alabama at this point. Like Michigan was embarrassed by Georgia, and Cincinnati was embarrassed by Alabama. And there's almost no point in watching it. I'm not going to watch it. And that's it. We'll talk about it. But again, like Lee said, I think it'll be a decent game. I think it'll be better than the two playoff games we got. But I think that Alabama is just going to roll to another title. And that's just the way it is.
Too much experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and Cotter says that the NFL is better. There's more parity in the NFL. That's very true. There's more parity in the NFL usually. Like you can have an NFL dynasty, but
I mean, there should be at all pro levels of sport. The college should not have the same parity when there's 100 teams. All right, but the problem is that college football is based on recruiting. It's not based off of a draft. So the better a team gets, the higher caliber recruit they get. That's kind of the problem, but it's not a problem that can be fixed. Right. But actually, you're going to talk about a way that's being disrupted in a minute.
Yes. And that actually does lead into our next topic, which is interesting because I thought this was fascinating. Jackson State, which is a smaller college, but it's being coached by the great Deion Sanders, of course, Hall of Fame cornerback for the Cowboys and Falcons and Niners. And the top college football recruit spurned a lot of these big, like Alabama and LSU and all these big schools that were obviously wanted him. He's a cornerback. He's a defensive back. And he's like, no, I'm going to go learn from Coach Deion.
Right.
And that's probably the best thing that's going to happen to him because, you're going to go learn football from
the best,
the greatest corner of all time.
Right.
So, I mean, that makes perfect sense, but it is one way that, like you mentioned, Lee, that depending on, the coach is a big reason why some guys will go to certain places. And Deion is a coach like no other.
And all he has to do
prime
is perform. He just needs to perform, and his name's going to be known forever now just for making that decision. So it's an interesting move. It's also empowering the athlete in the NCAA ranks, right? That's something we've talked about with the new NCAA rules. Yeah. This kid's going to get endorsed immediately.
Yes.
So it's a smart move. It's changed the rules. We talked about college coaches being gods. This actually plays into that a little bit, but that's how you disrupt something. You know what I mean? So we'll see. College football is a massive business. It is a much bigger business than the NFL. A lot of people don't realize that. Like the college football brings in way more money as a whole than the NFL does. Billions.
Oh, for sure.
So for sure. Again, you guys got to remember in the Southeast United States, the NFL is not the main sport. It's the NCAA. If you haven't lived down there, people don't realize that. Yeah. Like remember I lived in Northwest Florida. It's like, well, who's your NFL team? It's the Saints. It's Dallas. Sometimes it's Atlanta. What? Like, well, Roll Tide. I was like, what? Or damn Eagle. What? Auburn, man. Auburn. That's my team. Like, but you didn't go to Auburn. That's my team. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for us in the Northeast, that makes no sense. If
Where'd
you didn't
go
there,
Pensacola
why do you
Community
root
College.
for that?
Yeah, it's getting late, right?
Montclair State, go Red Hawks.
Yeah, go. I could say Drexel, but they don't have a football team.
Yeah, but also, and I want to just quickly mention something. Our good friend Ray Santiago, good friend of the show, good friend to me and Lee for very many years, mentioned on Twitter is that some folks were criticizing this, being like, "Well, how are NFL scouts going to see him?" And he's like, talent will always be found by NFL scouts. Also, he's playing for Deion freaking Sanders.
Wait. They just did see him.
Like literally.
They just saw him. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's a splash move.
Yeah. So for every idiot out there who's like, well, why is he going to a small school? It's like, it doesn't matter. The NFL will find this kid if he's good enough and he performs. So,
and he will.
There's that. All right. So that's football. Another football section. Now we're going to go into the other sports. A couple of interesting things.
Quickly,
Hockey has started
it's
back
almost
up.
midnight here. Hurry up.
All right. I'm getting through it. Hockey has started back up post-COVID.
Hockey.
As of this moment of taping, I believe the Rangers are the best team in hockey. Holy cow!
Yes.
Rangers have gone 3-1.
Who predicted they would be very good this year again? My predictions have been on this year, Ray. They've been on.
I know. Well, can you predict that they'd win the Stanley Cup for me?
No, I can't go that far, but I did. I'll tell you why. Because of COVID, I can't predict anything right now. Right?
No, that's true.
Why I refuse to pick a Super Bowl champion, because you might get there next week and the entire Green Bay or Kansas City offense gets to go down for 2 weeks. I'll be like, NFL is praying. They're like, guys, just stay inside for a month. Stop it.
Yeah.
NHL is being hit horribly by COVID right now. But the Rangers, best team in the league, as predicted, when there was no distractions. They're quite a good hockey team.
Yeah, Shesterkin's back. And I will say this, the one good thing about the COVID break for us is allowed Igor Shesterkin to get healthy. And he's back now playing a very top, high caliber level of hockey. Although Alexander Georgiev had a great start against the Oilers last night. The Rangers won 4-1. Georgiev 33 saves on 34 shots. Rangers are 3-1 since the hockey has started back up. Of course, they looked a little sluggish following the break. A lot of teams looked a little sluggish, but it took us just a game for them to get the juices flowing again and get everything back under their belt. Shake the rust off.
I'm being asked in chat what's going on with the Flyers. COVID's going on. What do you mean what's going on with the Flyers? They got Claude Giroux and Provorov out tonight. That's our number one offenseman and defenseman. Last game, we never had a goaltender for 2 games in a row, and they're still getting points. But guys, COVID is the great equalizer. Like, is it?
Yes.
It's just with what's
and there is a lot of hockey left. There is a lot of hockey.
Too much left. And like I said, Andrew's saying it's the Leafs here. Yeah, if you don't get hit by COVID and lose 10 games in a row, you just don't know. It's an unknown. All right?
And let's be honest, Andrew, it's never the Leafs year. Come on, man.
Well, I'll listen to what I'll say, Andrew. And this is funny. This is what I used to say about the Washington Capitals before they won the cup. I said, I will not pick the Capitals to win the cup until they win the cup, because it's just not a safe bet ever. It's the same with the Leafs.
Yes.
Canes are a very good hockey team. We're getting comments in chat. Look, it is a little too early. We're still kind of almost to the halfway point. We'll see how things play out, guys. Because like I said, there's also a very strong variance right now in games played throughout the league. Some teams have 4 or 5 more games played. That's 10 points. That's a lot. So we got to see how it goes.
It's gonna be a lot to make up before this playoffs start, too.
Right,
and there's gonna be a crunch.
That's the other thing too. Is like, if one of your teams has to make up 5 games in 7 to 10 days, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
What killed the Flyers last year. They had to play 12 games in 15 days. They're dead.
Yeah.
So Andrew says the Rangers are outperforming. Completely disagree with you. They are a good hockey team with good goaltending, and they've been under the radar for a while. And I think some of the better teams that we know from the past are not as good as people thought. Pittsburgh and Boston fluttering.
Yeah.
Even though Boston won.
When the Rangers have great goaltending and good defense, the thing is to Andrew's point, can the Rangers score? When the Rangers score, right? Because the Rangers, when they lose league games, it's usually they lose them 2-1 or 3-2. When the Rangers can put the biscuit in the basket, they're fine. Like they did the last few games. Like they beat Tampa Bay in a shootout. They beat them, I think, 4-0. Right? If the Rangers are scoring 4 goals a game, the Rangers are going to be dangerous because they're not giving up 4 goals.
Keep in mind, you have the Norris Trophy runner on that team too.
That's what I'm saying. Well, again, we built that. We have good. Our top 4 defense is solid. We've got Shesterkin in net. The question is that Zibanejad is finally starting to wake up. Chris Kreider has been the offensive focal point for a lot of this young season. Finally, the pressure is being taken off him. Alexis Lafreniere had a 2-point game last night with a goal and an assist. Whereas he's been moved to the Ryan Strome line. It's also helped Strome. Strome had a goal last night. Can we, as Gerard Gallant is wisely mixing up his lines in a way that is, he's seeing now what these guys' strengths and weaknesses are, and he's playing to some of these guys' strengths, and the Ranger line changes at least 4 games since the break. The Rangers are scoring 4 goals a game.
Cotter's asking for a cup prediction, and I'll bite. I'll bite.
I'm not going to bite. I'm going to lay off of this.
Keeping in mind what I said about COVID, that could change anything. It's like injuries in football. I think that the Vegas Golden Knights are going to be the team from West. The East is very hard, but I think the Hurricanes are actually the team this year. I think that they're well coached. They know what they're missing out on, and they want to win. That's my prediction right now. Canes, Vegas in a final that no one will watch. Andrew also wants to talk about the World Junior Classic being canceled. That's tragic. For those who don't know, the World Junior Classic is the second greatest hockey tournament on the planet after the Stanley Cup playoffs. Multiple teams had to cancel games due to COVID. They did the right thing in canceling it. It sucks. Probably should have canceled it to begin with. They were okay canceling the women's tournament for some reason. I know it was probably financially based, and they don't want people put people in danger, but they probably should have canceled the men's tournament immediately. Only funny story out of that, which is not funny, is that the Russian and Czech team got kicked off their flight home for smoking in the back of the plane without their masks on and not complying. Just the most Russian thing you could do.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
but hopefully they got back. I'm sure they're back in Russia now. But yeah, look, guys, COVID doesn't give a crap what we want. It doesn't give a crap what political preference you have. It doesn't even care if you're vaccinated or not. It's going to try and get you. COVID doesn't care, doesn't have a conscience. So any hockey we get, any football, basketball, baseball, anything we get, you have to sit it back at the end of the day and say, wow, we're really lucky to have any of this on right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Andrew, if the Canadians win the Stanley Cup this year, I will send you $5,000.
I think he means the WJC. I think he means the World Junior Classic. He's talking about the Canadians.
Oh, okay. Well, I still feel pretty safe about the Canadians.
Yes. Yeah.
Andrew, you don't know the Canadians were going to win. I hear that all the time, and then the USA comes around and wins.
He's Canadian. He thinks the Canadians are actually, still
as
really
the
solid.
Defending World Junior Championship team.
Yeah.
USA.
There we go.
Maybe we'll let you have a shot at the title next year.
There we go. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, also just to go back to Cotter, I will say this. I actually say, watch out for the Panthers. Watch out for Florida.
Yeah, it's fair, Ray. That's a fair point. That is a very fair point. Panthers are massive under the radar right now, and they shouldn't be.
Yeah, if that kid in that night is his name, right? I think if he's solid, if he really comes on as the goalie they think he can be, I think the Panthers are
legit. They're a legit team.
Yeah.
Cotter is asking. Cotter, thanks for engaging with us. For those of you listening to the recording, he's asking us about COVID and what I think it's going to do. Just to keep this on sports and not make this a COVID discussion, Cotter. No, I don't think leagues are going to shut down again. I think that like most things right now, we just have to learn to live with this. It's not going to go away. It's going to become endemic, and it's going to be like a flu. And, how do I think this ends? With over-the-counter drugs that you can take for antiviral stuff, like getting the flu. But we got to learn to live with it. You can't have everybody get vaccinated and then keep shutting things down. I know Canada, by the way, Andrew, is being extremely strict right now.
So is Australia.
Shutting things down. And I don't know if I fully agree with that decision.
Me either.
You know what I mean?
Not at this point.
You got to live.
Point. We know too much.
Yeah,
we know too much about this, and
I think that's a bit tough. But
especially, and look, not to get into it, but especially, I mean, they've said it. Omicron is not nearly as deadly as the previous variants.
Yeah,
I think it's. Yeah, I don't know. Not to get too much into it. Get your vaccines.
I will say this.
Stay safe.
This is all I'm going to say is that this virus will continually evolve. It will also continually lessen in severity, and we will learn to live with it. That is the way it is.
Yeah.
I will say this very bluntly. More people are going to die by choices they make in their life. The options are there to protect yourself. It's up to each and every one of us to make that decision. That is your right. And at least in America, that's your right. You can make that choice, and you live with the consequences. And I honestly don't care anymore what anyone does, athletes or not. You make the decision. Please try not to put other people in danger. And we got to live with it. Guys, it's going to take care of itself. The virus does not care what you think, do, or say. It is not a sentient being. It just wants to infect you.
Yep.
That's if that is your starting point of logic, you're probably going to be all right. If your starting point of logic is, but this politician, this person, this athlete, this celebrity, that's not a good logical place to start.
Listen to the science, folks. Listen to scientists, not quarterbacks, doctors, not politicians.
But
Doctors and scientists.
Like your doctor. Like you don't have to even follow that. Like talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm very fortunate. I live with a doctor.
Yeah.
Who's a very honest, good human being. Some people would say I love her and I would die for her. It's true. All right. But I get very good information in my house. I benefit from knowing what's going on a daily basis. Okay. So it's a little different for me. But you know, my point is talk to your doctor. Yeah, Cotter, it is your fault for bringing this up.
That's right. Cotter brought it up. I mean, to be fair, I was also going to bring up though the NHL pulling out of the Olympics now, which honestly I'm fine with.
Yeah, look. That's a tough
I care more about NHL hockey than Olympic hockey.
Yeah, listen, the reason why people are poo-pooing that is because the athletes want to play in the Olympics, right? And I understand that there is some glimmer to the greatest in the world playing against each other, but it is just in this time period with that disease, with the season already being interrupted once this season, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. What would make sense, and the Olympic Committee will not do it, they will not do it, is moving ice hockey to the Summer Olympics, where it used to be held. There's no need for this to be in the Winter Olympics anymore if you want to have the best of all time. But the Olympic Committee
hockey rinks are inside.
Yeah, well, they refused to do it. Like when they had in Squaw Valley in 1916, it was outside, or Russia. It made sense, but if they really want the best in the world, they should switch that. And, you know, here's the thing: you don't have to switch the women's hockey. You can keep women's hockey in the Winter Olympics, but I don't know. They won't do it. And it's disappointing. Right? I always love seeing the NHL players in the Olympics, but you know what the NHL should do is just do another world competition like they've done in the past. That was great a few years ago. I really enjoyed that. Or bring back the World Cup. You know, like I don't know why that's hard. But yeah, we're gonna get to see a lot of internationally subpar hockey here in a few weeks.
Yeah, there you go. So goodness. And also, you know, sticking with the topic of COVID in a way, unfortunately, moving from the NHL to the NBA. And the NBA has capitulated, or the Nets, I should say, the Nets have capitulated and given in to Kyrie Irving, who refuses to get vaccinated. But, you know, again, because of New York restrictions, there's Kyrie Irving will become a part-time player, again, mostly because of COVID and injuries. The Nets are short-staffed. Right. And so for road games, Kyrie Irving will be allowed to play for the Brooklyn Nets again, but he will not be allowed to play in Brooklyn.
Interesting. That's how you know this is a whole new era.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, again, New York restrictions are he has to be vaccinated if he wants to play. He refuses to get vaccinated. And obviously the state government supersedes whatever NBA Commissioner Adam Silver thinks. So that's the way it's going to go. And the Brooklyn Nets tried to kind of, you know, get him vaccinated, be like, look, you want to play, just get vaccinated. He refused. He's lost a lot of money this year because he refused. But now the Nets are in such dire straits and the league is not stopping for the Brooklyn Nets. And so they're like, well, come on the road with us. Play where you can play.
Again, this is one of those, you know, the sanctity of the game. I think we're still there. But like, that's where it comes like, wait, you got what? Yeah, a player playing only away games? Okay, weird.
Yeah, this isn't a guy taking a couple days off because he's tired. This is just
weird. Weird times to be alive.
Yeah.
Right. It is now Wednesday here.
Well, happy Wednesday.
Thank you. I'm in the future. It's Wednesday. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
I'm tired, Ray. So keep going.
Yeah. So I mean, look, at this point, I think the league just needs to I think probably the leagues need to start mandating some rules about this. And I think that there needs to be some leadership shown here.
Generally.
Yeah. And I think that there's just a lack of leadership just everywhere
now. No, there's a national lack of leadership in North America right now.
Yes.
On all fronts. There has been for about a decade.
Yeah. Speaking of crappy leaders, let's head to baseball. Final story of the day. We're not doing a mashup today because this was an extra long double wide episode.
It was fun. It's been fun.
It was a good one. It was very good. I think it was very good. I hope you all had a good time. Thank you for everybody for hanging out, by the way, here on Twitch.
Matt Cavallari, thanks for listening.
Yes, long episode for you,
whenever it is where you are right now.
Yes. But this is a very sad story. Ken Rosenthal, who is really one of the most straightforward, non-controversial journalists I can think of. Rob Manfred fired him today or yesterday, I think it was, from MLB Network because he was too critical of him on MLB Network. And of course, MLB Network is owned by Major League Baseball. So Ken Rosenthal, he'll probably still work for Fox and for other, obviously, whoever wants to write for, he wants to write for. Again, he's going to be in high demand. He is one of the best baseball journalists working today. But dude lost his job at MLB Network because Rob Manfred didn't like what he said about him. Because Rob Manfred's the commissioner, and he puts the dick into dictatorship. Because that's what it is when you start firing journalists who are critical of you. Rob Manfred, do us all a favor and, like, I don't know, just disappear, man. I'm not going to wish death on you, but boy, oh boy, I sure hope somebody cuts your brake lines. Because, man, you are the worst commissioner, and especially right now with no baseball likely to happen next year because of this lockout, and now you're firing the journalists who are critical of you because of the lockout. You make me freaking sick, man. You make me sick. I hate Rob Manfred. You are a disaster. You are a joke. You are the worst thing that happened to the sport of baseball. And you got your feelings hurt because the journalist wrote something bad about you. There's a game I played in recently called Trigger Happy Havoc. I still can't say it. Trigger Happy Havoc Danganronpa. And one of the characters is a baseball player. And I run at Twist of Fate. Small spoiler. He gets death by pitching machine, where he's tied in the batter's box. And the pitching machine just keeps firing, almost like a water torture, basically. And the baseballs just keep hitting him, and he's bludgeoned to death. Rob Manfred, that's too good for you.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ray, he shouldn't have anything to do with baseball. Look, this is what I'm going to say on this. This is going to be an interesting take, but you allow this, Ray. First they messed with the game. They messed with the game with the cheating stuff. Then they messed with the balls last year, which messes with the integrity of the game.
Yeah.
Now you're legit messing with like the free press of your game, which is like super important to have, that people can be critical. You know, one thing Gary Bettman has always stood for, he allows players to talk bad about him, and there might be repercussions, but he doesn't fire them. What are you? This is becoming a dictatorship. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing, Manfred? Like you can't go into a lockout and expect people to be sunshine and rainbows. It's wrong. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's got to change.
Yeah, it's
got to change. New commissioner is needed massively.
We've been saying it again. The word. There will be no baseball next year. There will be no journalists to cover baseball if Rob Manfred has his way. There will be no players who play baseball.
He's a tyrant.
I guess all you're going to have to do next year, folks, is come watch me play MLB The Show 22 in March on twitch.tv/RayCarsillo, because
the
that
real season begins then.
Yes, the real season will begin. But yeah, just another down note to end on. Unfortunately, very high day for geekdom and very low day for sports, unfortunately.
Just as Andrew says that Manfred deserves 100 times more booze than Bettman. Andrew, I've said this 100 times. I don't believe Gary Bettman to be a bad commissioner. I think that is just pomp and circumstance. I think he's actually quite a good commissioner. And I think if anybody looks at the stats, Gary Bettman has done more for his sport than most commissioners. Right? It's just this stupid anti-corporation attitude that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no. The lockout and look, I will say this. This lockout, if they do it, this could be good for baseball.
Oh, I think so too. I think we talked about that.
Yes. But I don't trust Rob Manfred.
Good for hockey.
Yes.
I don't know if people argue that. I said the game wouldn't exist.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I have zero faith in Rob Manfred, especially acting the way he does.
I hope that the league owners vote him out. I don't think it's going to happen, but I hope for that.
Yeah. Cotter already said he already bought his Brewer tickets.
Yeah.
I told him in the chat. I'm going to say it again here. Get a refund, Cotter. I don't think there's going to be baseball next year. I do not, and I'll say this: Cotter asks if it'll last even further into 2023. If the baseball strike is not, and this lockout is not, if we miss more than one season of baseball, baseball's dead. It's dead. It's not coming back. You cannot bounce back from that. It is dead. Flat out dead. That's it. You only have baseball in video game form, and that's it. Which you can watch again. Me play at twitch.tv/RayCarStore. So we have our Trimac just popped in the chat. Unfortunately, Trimac, you're here at the very end of the show, buddy. We're going to tell you to go back and watch the whole thing. We appreciate you popping in. Or
the end is near. The show is ending.
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
But we are wrapping up. This was a 3-hour, double wide, extra long episode of Geeks Who Like Sports here, our first of the new year. If you stuck with us listening to it on Apple or Spotify or wherever else you can hear us, we appreciate it. We love you. We appreciate it. Go and follow our Facebook group, follow our Instagram, our Twitter. You can follow me. Me and Lee are also on all those social media platforms. We got another great show coming up for you next week, folks. It will be shorter because we only have a week. This is what happens when we don't talk for 3 weeks. But
it will be shorter.
Yes, it will be shorter. I promise it will be shorter. But we hope you had a great time. We hope you're having a happy new year. Happy 2022. Lee, any parting thoughts before we wrap it up here?
No, I hope everybody has a wonderful year. I hope you had a good time with your families and you survive the holidays and get up and go, man. 2022, make it work for yourself. Don't wait.
Yep. Here we go. New year, new you.
Boom.
That's what they say, right?
There you go. Boom.
Right. Boom. Boom. All right. So thank you all again, everybody, for watching. If you're here on Twitch, we'll be sticking around for a couple minutes afterwards. If you're listening again at home on your drive, going anywhere, we appreciate you sticking with us this whole time. We'll be back next week with more Geeks Who Like Sports. But until then, for Lee, I am Ray. This has been episode 137. Good night, everybody.